Chapter 524. In the blink of an eye, for days had passed since Yixing finished setting up the formation. On this day, the cultivators of the Azure Dragon Empire finally arrived. This time, there were many people, a total of 7. 1 half-step venerate, 1 9-star venerate, 2 8-star venerates, 2 7-star venerates, and 6-star venerate Longhong. Longhong belonged to a side clan in the Azure Dragon Empire. They did not have a venerate. Although Longhong had said that he would invite a venerate to destroy Theet, it was only true that he wanted to destroy the Falling Star sect. Inviting a venerate was just arrogance. There were only 7 venerates in the Azure Dragon Empire. Each of them was high and mighty. The 7 venerates would only make a move if it was a major matter of the Azure Dragon Empire or if their family was in trouble. The 7 venerates represented the 5 main clans of the Long clan. Longhong was just a side clan cultivator. Why would the venerates make a move for a personal grudge? Even if Longhong died, the venerates would not interfere. The Azure Dragon Empire had its own organization to investigate. Compared to the entire Azure Dragon Empire, Longhong was just a small figure. However, compared to the side clan that Longhong was in, he was a core member and had a high status. Last time, he invited 2 8-star venerates, but they ended up suffering because of the Falling Star sect's protective formation. This time, he used his connections and paid a price to invite a half-step Venerable One from his clan and a Grade 3 formation Grandmaster from 9 stars Venerable One. He was determined to get back at Ouyangming. Although the Azure Dragon Empire had a lot of resources, they were mainly occupied by the 5 main clans. The side clans had much less. Longhong befriended Yin Hongdan of the Sun Moon sect because he wanted to take the Sun Moon sect's resources. However, Yixing ruined his plan. Hence, Longhong came to take revenge to regain his face. The more important reason was to take the Falling Star sect's resources. To the Azure Dragon Empire, the Falling Star sect's resources were nothing. However, to Longhong, it was still very attractive. The Azure Dragon Empire cultivators were discovered by the Falling Star sect sentries when they were 100 miles away. By the time they arrived outside, the Yixing had already flown into the sky. He spread his wings of fire and stood in the air. Yixing's cultivation aura spread out. This aura was violent and surging. It didn't seem like a 6-star perfected being at all. It was almost on par with an 8-star perfected being. The Blue Dragon Empire cultivators stopped in their tracks. They were somewhat surprised by the powerful aura emitted by Yixing. Longhong looked at Yixing in surprise. It had only been 2 months, but Yixing's aura had actually become so much stronger, which was somewhat out of his expectations. According to what he had heard about Yixing, Yixing's performance in the genius selection was below the top 10 prodigies. His strength was above that of a 6-star perfected person, and he was at the bottom of the 7-star perfected person. However, the surging aura was almost equivalent to that of an 8-star venerable. However, even if Yixing really had the strength of an 8-star venerable, Longhong wasn't afraid. This time, he had invited his family's half-step venerate and rank 3 array grandmaster. As for Yixing being favored by Honorable Mo Jian and being recommended to become a student of the Blood Edge Empire's Academy, only the true Xian domain cultivators knew about it. Longhong didn't know about it. Yixing, I finally met you this time. Today, I'll let you know the price of looking down on my Imperial Dragon clan. Longhong's surprise disappeared in an instant. He stared at Yixing like a venomous snake as he shouted coldly. Yixing's aura surged. His black hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were like lightning, releasing killing intent as he swept towards the Azure Dragon Empire cultivators. Yixing shouted, "Scram now, and I'll let you live. Otherwise, I'll kill you without mercy." The Azure Dragon Empire cultivators were stunned. This line, this tone. It should be us who said it. Are you kidding me? Long Hong and the other 6 looked at each other and smiled disdainfully. The half-step venerable swept his cold gaze towards Yixing and said, "You want us to scram?" The cultivators at the side all sneered. Long Hong shouted, "Yixing, this is our Imperial Dragon Clan's honorable Long Yu. Crushing you is as easy as crushing an ant. How dare you ask us to scram?" Then, Long Hong pointed at the 9-star venerable and said, "This is Honorable Long Chao. Not only is he a 9-star venerable, but he's also a rank 3 array grandmaster. He can also kill you easily. How dare you say that again?" Honorable Long Yu and Honorable Long Chao's aura surged. They raised their heads slightly, revealing arrogance in their eyes. A terrifying aura pressed towards Yixing. Air surged, and the terrifying aura swept over, causing the wind to howl. However, Yixing stood in the air like a reef in the sea. No matter how strong the wind and waves were, he stood firm. There seemed to be an aura around Yixing that blocked the wind. His voice was cold as he said, "Either you get lost or die. How dare you?" A 7-star venerable shouted. When he saw Yixing standing outside the falling star sect's array, he took a step forward and said, "What an arrogant brat. You only performed well in the junior competition. Who do you think you are in front of us seniors?" This 7-star venerable was called Long Qing, and he was Long Hong's cousin. He was in the late 7th stage of the astral realm, and his strength was the best among the 7-star venerables. Yixing's performance in the junior competition was the weakest among the 7-star venerables. Naturally, he didn't take Yixing seriously. If Yixing was in the 3rd level array, he wouldn't dare to show off. But now that Yixing was outside the range of the array, Long Qing strode forward. Long Qing shouted, "Arrogant brat, I'll let you know the consequences of being arrogant in front of the Royal Dragon Clan." As soon as he finished speaking, Long Qing suddenly sped up. With one step, he was in front of Yixing and punched at Yixing. The gloves on Long Qing's hands were upper-grade spiritual weapons, and the martial art he used was the supreme-grade rushing wave fist. As he punched out, waves of energy blasted out like waves. In an instant, the power of the fist reached its peak. Among the 7-star venerables, Long Qing's strength was 1 level lower than Mo Tong's. Moreover, Long Qing didn't use his astrology. Even Mo Tong couldn't withstand a single blow from Yixing, let alone Long Qing. Even though the power of the fist was at its peak, Yixing didn't take it seriously. He faced Long Qing's fist aura with both hands and pushed. In an instant, the air exploded and the energy compressed into a wall, shattering Long Qing's rushing wave fist aura. Bang! Then, Yixing's palms collided with Long Qing's fist, and there was a loud explosion. The upper-grade spiritual weapon gloves instantly changed shape, and Long Qing's arm exploded. Blood, flesh, and bones splattered everywhere. As for Long Qing's body, it instantly shot backward. His entire body was shattered, and blood splattered everywhere. He looked like a bloody man, flying several miles away. He didn't even have time to scream before he was pushed to death by Yixing's push. He died instantly. Do you still have a monthly ticket? Chapter 525. The martial artists of the Falling Star sect were stunned. The martial artists of the Blue Dragon Empire were also stunned. How could Yixing be so powerful? His opponent was a venerable 7-star, a late-stage venerable 7-star. However, Yixing had shattered Longqing's arms and body with a push of his palms. He had killed Longqing with a single push. Was Longqing's body made of mud? Was it made of paper? Was this still the body of a 7-star venerable? All the martial artists were stupefied and shocked. The only one with a normal expression was Wei Qingxian. She was at the Shuefeng Empire Academy and had seen with her own eyes how Yixing had heavily injured Mo Tong with just a push. Yixing had shown mercy to Mo Tong. Longqing's strength was not as good as Mo Tong's, and he did not use his astrology. Moreover, Yixing did not show mercy either. Instead, he killed Longqing. How could Longqing withstand the force of this push? Of course, he would die with a single push. Among the martial artists of the Blue Dragon Empire, Long Hong and the other 7-star Venerable looked at Yixing with fear. Even the 2 8-star Venerables looked at Yixing with fear. Their hearts were thumping. The force of Yixing's push was even more terrifying than the 8-star Venerable's all-out attack. Even if the 8-star Venerable could kill Longqing with his all-out attack, he would still need to pay attention to killing techniques. He would not use such a brutal push. Yixing's push was ordinary. It was a pure attack. Obviously, it was much more powerful than the 8-star Venerable's attack. Only Venerable Long Yu and Venerable Long Chao were shocked. One of them was a half-step Venerable, and the other was a 9-star Venerable and a level 3 array Grandmaster. Even if Yixing was more powerful than the 8-star Venerable, they did not take him seriously. Longqing's corpse fell to the ground after flying for a few miles. He did not struggle at all. He was completely dead. Yixing looked at Longqing's corpse falling and said, "You're asking for death." Long Yu Martial Highness was infuriated as he glared at Yixing with a tremendous aura and snapped, "Yixing, how dare you kill the people of the Blue Dragon Empire?" Yixing glanced at the remaining 6 people and said, "He asked for death. Why wouldn't I dare to kill him? I'll say it again. Get lost or die. Bastard." Venerable Long Yu was furious. He shouted, "Long Chao, capture this kid alive. I want him to watch the Falling Star sect and then torture him to death." Even if Yixing killed Longqing and was more powerful than the 8-star Venerable, as a half-step Venerable, Venerable Long Yu did not take Yixing seriously. He also did not see Yixing as an opponent. He thought that Long Chao could easily capture Yixing alive. As a 9-star Venerable and a level 3 array Grandmaster, Long Chao was very powerful. He was almost invincible under the half-step Venerable. He could even take down a 9-star Venerable. He was Yixing. Venerable Long Chao stared at Yixing coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He said, "Venerable Long Yu, don't worry. I'll capture this kid alive and make him suffer." As he spoke, Venerable Long Chao moved forward. The supreme grade flying spiritual artifact behind him flapped and he walked in the air toward Yixing. Whoosh, formation flags appeared around Long Chao. Each formation flag was shining with golden light and had a golden saber imprinted on it. They were the formation flags of the level 3 Golden Saber formation. As a level 3 array Grandmaster, Venerable Long Chao's formation flags were obviously level 3 advanced. The formation flags shone brightly and stood around Venerable Long Chao. Soon, they formed a golden saber that was dozens of feet long. It floated above Venerable Long Chao. He could control this golden saber to slash down at any time. Even a 9-star Venerable would not be able to block the attack of this golden saber. Yixing's expression was normal. He did not show any fear because Venerable Long Chao was a 9-star Venerable and a level 3 array Grandmaster. Instead, his eyes shone with killing intent. "You're digging your own graves," Yixing said slowly. At this moment, he really wanted to kill all the martial artists from the Azure Dragon Empire. Before this, Yixing could give up as long as they retreated. However, now that Venerable Long Chao had made his move, Yixing would definitely expose something. If they were allowed to return alive, the Azure Dragon Empire would definitely guess that he was the one who crippled the 9th Prince Long Shao. At that time, even the Emperor of the Azure Dragon Empire would probably come to the Falling Star sect. Therefore, Yixing had to kill everyone from the Azure Dragon Empire when he used some of his hidden strength. Although these people would definitely attract the Venerables from the Azure Dragon Empire to investigate, it was still less of a threat than the Azure Dragon Empire knowing who Long Zhao's murderer was. Since these people had died here, the one who came to investigate should be a 1-star venerable. And the one who knew Long Zhao's murderer was most likely the Emperor of the Azure Dragon Empire, a 2-star venerable. Venerable Long Zhao sneered, digging your own graves. You're the one who's digging your own graves. As soon as he finished speaking, Venerable Long Zhao waved his hand and slashed at Yixing whoosh. The huge golden saber that was dozens of feet long in the sky suddenly split the clouds and broke through the waves, slashing at Yixing. The air currents were instantly cut in half. It looked as if the sky was split open. In the blink of an eye, the golden saber was already above Yixing. Even Venerable 9-star would find it difficult to block this attack. If he was hit, he would be cut in half. Yixing did not dodge. He snorted coldly and said, "Are you the only level 3 array Grandmaster?" Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, the flame array flags shot out and stood around Yixing, forming a flame shield. It was also a level 3 array Grandmaster. The golden saber slashed on the flame shield. There was an explosion, and sparks flew. The flame shield trembled but did not crack. The golden saber was blocked outside the flame shield. Venerable Long Zhao said in shock, "You're also a level 3 array Grandmaster?" Venerable Long Yu and the other Azure Dragon Empire martial artists were all shocked. Such a young level 3 array Grandmaster? How was this possible? Even if he started cultivating array formations in his mother's womb, it was impossible for him to become a level 3 array Grandmaster so quickly. This was simply abnormal. When the word abnormal flashed through their minds, the Azure Dragon Empire martial artists immediately thought of another abnormal level 3 array Grandmaster. Last year, in the Sky Corpse mountain range, a level 3 array Grandmaster with a level 3 astral realm cultivation had annihilated a powerful team from the Azure Dragon Empire and crippled the 9th prince of the Azure Dragon Empire, Long Zhao. Furthermore, a half-step venerable from the Azure Dragon Empire, Venerable Lu Shan, had also lost his life because of this. They were all level 3 array Grandmasters. Yixing was abnormal because he was young. His current cultivation was level 6 astral realm. Although level 3 array Grandmasters who were 6 stars venerable were rare, they were not non-existent. The person who crippled Long Zhao's cultivation was abnormal because his cultivation was low. He was only level 3 astral realm. Instinctively, the Azure Dragon Empire martial artists compared Yixing to the level 3 array Grandmaster who had crippled Long Zhao's cultivation. The promised 4 chapters have been completed. Next, I'll add chapters according to the monthly votes. Please support me with the monthly votes. Chapter 526 that I wouldn't know if I didn't compare, but now that I did, I was shocked. It seemed that Yixing's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the astral realm at that time last year. Whether it was such a young 3rd level array Grandmaster or a 3rd level array Grandmaster, they had never even heard of them. They could be called abnormal. Such a person was definitely very, very rare. Then, could these 2 abnormal 3rd level array Grandmasters be the same person? When the Blue Dragon Empire martial artists thought this, they felt that it was very possible. Moreover, the more they thought about it, the more likely it was. How could there be 2 of such abnormal people? It was reasonable that they were the same person. Moreover, Yixing's cultivation at that time just happened to match, and the time difference was only half a year. Since Yixing was a 3rd level array Grandmaster at such a young age, then it was reasonable that he was a 3rd level array Grandmaster at half a year younger. So it's you. You're the culprit who crippled the 9th prince. Venerable Long Yu, Venerable Long Huang, and the other Blue Dragon Empire martial artists cried out in surprise at almost the same time. At this time, there was no need to deny it. Yixing nodded. Looks like you guys aren't too stupid. Hearing Yixing's admission, the Blue Dragon Empire martial artists were all stunned, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on their backs. Last year, the Blue Dragon Empire had lost a strong team. In that team, there were 2 third-level array grandmasters, a venerable 9-star, an even more venerable 7-star and venerable 8-star. However, the team was completely wiped out, and the 9th Prince Long Shao was captured alive. Later, Venerable Lu Shan, who was guarding Wu City, investigated this matter and lost his life while chasing that third-level array grandmaster. Instead, he died at the hands of that third-level array grandmaster. Facing such a person, the Blue Dragon Empire had long come to the conclusion that those below the Venerable realm could only investigate and determine the culprit. Only Venerables could deal with such a person. Now, there were no Venerables among the Blue Dragon Empire martial artists. Although Venerable Long Yu had the title of Venerable, it was just a title used to flatter a half-step Venerable. It was far from a true Venerable. At this moment, in their eyes, Yixing was no longer a junior that they didn't take seriously. Instead, he was a terrifying expert that caused their souls to tremble. Even Venerable Long Yu felt his hair stand on end when he saw Yixing. His strength wasn't stronger than Venerable Lu Shan's. Venerable Long Yu was confused. Even if Yixing was a rank 3 formation grandmaster and had the Crimson Flame set, it was impossible for him to kill a half-step Venerable one. Therefore, Venerable Long Yu did not run away. If it had not been for the death of Lu Shan Venerable, Long Yu Venerable would never have believed that Yixing would be a match for him. However, Lu Shan Venerable's death served as a warning to Long Yu Venerable. Yixing could see Venerable Long Yu's intention of retreating. He knew that Venerable Long Yu would definitely not attack. There was no chance of him killing Venerable Long Yu with the 9 serial killing arrays. Now, the only person who had a chance of killing him was Venerable Long Chao, a venerable 9-star and a rank 3 formation grandmaster. When Yixing's murderous gaze locked onto Venerable Long Chao, Venerable Long Chao's hair stood on end as he felt threatened. Yixing said, "I'll kill you first." Whoosh! 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 As Yixing spoke, the 9 serial killing arrays were activated at the same time and unleashed a terrifying attack. 9 terrifying array auras appeared as 9 peerlessly powerful array attacks arrived in front of Venerable Long Chao in an instant. There were golden sabers, greenwood sword auras, yin-yang fire snakes, water dragons, flying stones, wind arrows, purple lightning, white light rays, and black light rays. Even though Venerable Long Chao immediately retreated when he felt his hair stand on end, he couldn't outrun the attacks of the 9 serial killing arrays. The 9 attacks were as fast as lightning. In an instant, Venerable Long Chao's golden sabers array was shattered into pieces. Then, it was Venerable Long Chao's body. Under the attack of the 9 serial killing arrays, the dignified Venerable 9-star was blasted into a cloud of blood mist. Not even dregs were left of him. As the saying went, not even bones were left. The 9 serial killing arrays were activated. Even though Venerable Long Yu and the others were far away, they were still scared out of their wits by the terrifying array auras. Run! Venerable Long Yu screamed and was the first to turn around and run. The remaining 4 also turned around and ran. The array was too powerful. Even a half-step Venerable would be killed instantly. Who would dare to stay for a moment? Their only goal now was to escape to the Zhonglong Empire and report this matter to the Emperor of the Zhonglong Empire so that Venerable Yuan Guang could deal with it. After killing Venerable Long Chao, the 9 array attacks were retracted. Yixing was still standing in the air. He raised his hand and the Big Dipper bow appeared in his hand. With his current strength, it was more than enough to draw the Big Dipper bow into a full moon. When he drew the bow, the 7 gems shone brightly and condensed into starlight arrows. Whoosh! 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 Yixing drew the bow 4 times in a row. 4 starlight arrows shot out like a string of pearls. With the Big Dipper bow fully drawn and Yixing's attainments in archery, the shooting range was extremely far and the speed of the arrows was extremely fast. With 4 sounds of the bow, 4 starlight arrows pierced through the sky. In the distance, other than Venerable Longyu, the other 4 Songlong Empire martial artists fell from the sky and were instantly killed by the starlight arrows. Venerable Longyu's speed was much faster than the other 4. In just a few breaths' time, he had already escaped dozens of miles away. He flapped his supreme-grade flying spiritual artifact and pushed his speed to the limit to escape. He had never imagined that as a half-step Venerable Realm expert, he would be fleeing with all his might from a 6th-level Astral Realm Junior. But fortunately, he had escaped. Without that terrifying array, Venerable Longyu wasn't afraid of Yixing. In Venerable Longyu's opinion, Venerable Lu Shan must have died because he had fallen into Yixing's trap and was killed by Yixing's formation. The azure cloud wings appeared behind Yixing. Yixing instantly turned into a streak of azure light and flashed across the sky as he chased after Venerable Longyu. The azure cloud wing's speed was the limit of a supreme-grade flying spiritual artifact. It was even faster than the flame wings. Furthermore, Yixing's wind force was close to greater mastery, which greatly increased his speed. He was much faster than Venerable Longyu. Yixing's gaze locked onto Venerable Longyu from afar. In his eyes, Venerable Longyu was already a dead man. The 2 of them were too fast. They were like 2 streaks of light that streaked across the sky. Soon, they disappeared from the vision of the Falling Star sect's martial artists. That's a half-step Venerable. Will Sect Master be in danger if he chases after him? The Falling Star sect's martial artists were shocked. In their opinion, the array was Yixing's trump card against a half-step Venerable. How could he be a match for a half-step Venerable if he chased after him? Not to mention the Falling Star sect's disciples, even Gu Tianshang and Hua Tianfeng were worried. How strong was a half-step Venerable? Chapter 527. Since Yixing dares to chase after them, he must be confident. Wei Qingxian understood Yixing very well and was not worried about Yixing. Although Yixing and Venerate Longyu could no longer be seen in the distant sky, every cultivator of the Falling Star sect still looked at them anxiously. Time ticked by. In less than 15 minutes, Yixing's figure appeared in the distant sky. He had returned. Sect Master Yi is back. The cultivators of the Falling Star sect immediately cheered and heaved a sigh of relief. The worry on Gu Tianshang's and Hua Tianfeng's faces disappeared and was replaced with joy. Did he catch up to Venerate Longyu? He returned so quickly. I don't think so. The cultivators guessed. On the other hand, Wei Qingxian was shocked. He killed a half-step Venerate and returned so quickly. It looks like Yixing still has a heaven-defying trump card. When Yixing returned to the sect, Gu Tianshang could not wait to ask, how was it? Did that half-step Venerate escape? The cultivators of the Falling Star sect blinked and looked at Yixing. Yixing smiled faintly and said, killed him. He will be a disaster if he returns. Why leave him alive? Killed him. Yixing said it casually, but the cultivators of the Falling Star sect were dumbfounded. Yixing killed a half-step Venerate without using the 9 serial killing formations. His strength was even more heaven-defying than they had imagined. After Gu Tianshang's joy, he could not help but worry. A half-step Venerate is dead. The Azure Dragon Empire will definitely send Venerates to investigate. What should we do? Yixing said, there are 9 serial killing formations. If a 1-star Venerable comes, it'll be useless. If a 2-star or 3-star Venerable comes, then we can only hope that Venerable Qinyu comes as soon as possible. As long as the Falling Star sect secretly moves away, where will the Blue Dragon Empire find them? Wei Qingxian walked over and smiled at Yixing. Yixing had heaven-defying trump cards that she didn't know about, but so did she. there were some things that were related to one's own secrets. Even to those who were close to one's heart, it was difficult to speak of them. Blue Dragon Empire, capital city. Panic broke out in one of the residences of the Imperial Dragon clan. The sole jade plate of the strongest expert of their side clan, the half-step Venerable Long Yu, had shattered. When a martial artist reached the half-step Venerable realm, they could communicate with the power of the universe. Their soul would begin to grow tremendously. Through special means, they could separate a wisp of their soul and make it into a soul jade plate to record their life and death. Before this, if one wanted to record the life and death of a cultivator, they could only rely on arrays that monitored their life aura. However, engraving arrays on the body was not a good thing for a cultivator, especially when it would affect their cultivation. Therefore, although this method could record the life and death of a cultivator, there were very few people who used it. Only those who valued their lives more than the future of martial arts would use it. Separating a wisp of green soul and making it into a soul jade plate was much less dangerous than carving formations on one's body. However, it was not without its disadvantages. The more complete one's soul was, the more thorough one could comprehend martial arts and communicate with the universe. Therefore, unless the martial artist's life and death were very important to their family or sect, and had reached the end of their martial path, they would only separate their soul and make it into a soul jade plate. Long Yu, as the strongest expert of a side clan, was very important to this side clan. Moreover, he was old, and his martial path potential had been exhausted. Therefore, he had carved a soul jade plate. Now that the soul jade plate had shattered, it meant that Long Yu was dead. How could this side clan not panic? Of course, such a big matter would be quickly reported to the main clan of the Dragon Clan. There were only 7 venerables in the Blue Dragon Empire, and the empire's territory was more than 2 million miles wide. There were countless people and many things to do. Managing the world required a lot of people, even the higher-ups. 7 venerables were far from enough. Even if they did not cultivate and were busy from day to night, they would not be able to handle all the affairs of this huge empire. Therefore, the 7 venerables would only deal with matters related to the ruling status of the Dragon Clan or the life and death of important people in the clan according to the severity of the matter. The rest of the affairs were decided by the half-step venerables of the Dragon Clan. They each managed their own territories separately. Venerable Long Yu was one of the higher-ups who made decisions. His life and death was of course a big matter for the Dragon Clan. After the Emperor of the Blue Dragon Empire, Venerable Yuan Guang, heard the news, he immediately summoned Venerable Yi Ming, one of the 4 one-star venerables of the empire. Venerable Yi Ming was a middle-aged man who looked around 30 years old. He was only 60 years old and was the youngest venerable in the Blue Dragon Empire. Imperial Palace, Main Hall. Venerable Yi Ming greeted Venerable Yuan Guang and said, "Brother, why did you summon me?" Venerable Yuan Guang said, "Long Yu's lineage is closer to yours, right?" Venerable Yi Ming nodded and said, "Yes, that lineage was separated from mine. We belong to the same lineage for 5 generations." Venerable Yuan Guang said, "Long Yu is dead." The reason was that he stood up for his nephew, Long Hong. He went to the Falling Star sect in the Qingyun area of the True Xian domain to teach Yixing a lesson. "Go and find out what happened." Venerable Yi Ming said in surprise, "Yixing? The monstrous genius from the True Xian domain who shone in the East Divine Continent Junior Genius Competition?" Venerable Yuan Guang nodded and said, "It's him." Venerable Yi Ming said, "This person is from the lower domain, but he is so monstrous. He is indeed a talent of his generation. Brother, what should I do when I go to the Falling Star sect?" Venerable Yuan Guang said, "It's a pity to kill such a person, but it's unforgivable for him to kill a martial artist of the Imperial Dragon family. Capture him alive and make him a slave. Train him well, and he may be a good weapon in the future." Venerable Yi Ming took the order and left. "Yes, brother." Falling Star Sect, Back Mountain. Yixing sat on top of a stone peak with his eyes slightly closed, calming his mind and calming his mind. He was not cultivating, but comprehending the heaven and earth. A breeze blew past, making his clothes flutter. As the airflow blew past his body, he could feel the direction, power, and changes of the wind. Yixing specialized in the three forces of heaven and earth, the force of fire and the force of darkness. Because of the opportunity, he had broken through to the realm of unity of heaven and man. As for the force of wind, he was still one step away. Yixing's understanding of the force of heaven and earth started from the force of wind, but now it was suppressed by the force of fire and the force of darkness. Yixing's focus now was on the force of wind. Wei Qingxian was also sitting cross-legged on the top of another mountain not far away. She had accumulated enough cultivation in the Stage 6 Astral Star Realm, and she was trying to break through to the Stage 7 Astral Star Realm. She was blessed by the heavens and had no bottlenecks in her cultivation. Up until now, she had been able to make breakthroughs in any realm. Now that the barrier of Astral Star Realm Stage 7 had been broken, it seemed like breaking through to Venerable 7 stars would also be a piece of cake. 6 chapters have finished. Please support me with a monthly vote. 6 chapters a day. Brothers, are you enjoying it enough? In fact, according to the plan, he should be able to write more chapters today. Unfortunately, the monthly votes ranking was too dismal. It greatly dampened Chocolate's enthusiasm for writing. Furthermore, the monthly votes for today were only enough for him to write 6 chapters. He did not have enough motivation, so he dragged it out and only finished writing at midnight did he finally explode with power. Archer God was ranked 29th in the fantasy category on the monthly vote ranking. 82nd in the overall ranking. Ever since Chocolate started writing, he had never gotten such a bad ranking on the first day of the month. Today, he had broken the record. Tears. Although it was because of the combined votes of Genesis and Chidian, his ranking was too low. It made him lose the mood to write. Tragedy. Brothers, I will continue to explode tomorrow. But I need to see some hope. If I continue to fall behind, my passion for writing will be worn down sooner or later. Brothers, please vote for Archer God. Thank you. Please support Archer God. Please give me a monthly vote. Please give me a recommendation vote. Your support is the only motivation for Chocolate to continue to explode. Tomorrow, I will continue to explode with 50 votes and 1 chapter. Chapter 528. Great Success of Aura, Unity of Heaven and Man. This was the comprehension of aura of heaven and earth that only high-level astral-reaching realm venerables could achieve. Aura of fire and aura of darkness. Yixing had only broken through aura of heaven and man due to a fortuitous encounter. Right now, Yixing was calmly comprehending. Even if his perception was heaven-defying, it would still be extremely difficult for him to take that final step. Many venerables could not reach aura of heaven and man even after comprehending for their entire lives. One could imagine how difficult it was. This meant that Yixing's perception was not good enough, but that it was truly difficult to reach aura of heaven and earth. Yixing's experience also proved that fortuitous encounters could not be underestimated. Originally, Yixing had comprehended aura of fire and aura of darkness a bit later than aura of wind. But now, he was the first to take that step. Then, if 2 martial artists with similar talent, one immersed himself in cultivation while the other encountered some fortuitous encounter, their accomplishments would definitely be the same as Yixing's comprehension of aura of heaven and earth. Wei Qingxuan's cultivation base naturally broke through the 7th level of Astral Star Realm, becoming a venerable 7 star. Yixing's aura of wind, however, did not break through. It remained at the peak of minute subtlety. If he wanted to break through this step, he would need an opportunity. Otherwise, it would take an extremely long time. A few days later, Venerable Wu Yu returned to the Falling Star sect. Accompanying him was the Emperor of Qingyu Empire, Venerable Qinyu. Yi Xing's expectations were correct. Venerable Qinyu, as a trusted subordinate of Ink Tiger King, personally rushed over after learning that Yi Xing wanted to relocate the Falling Star sect. Moreover, Venerable Qinyu brought a large profound grade flying spirit tool. It was a huge flying boat that could hold over 1,000 people. With this, the only difficulty of the migration was resolved. Originally, Yi Xing had planned to move them in batches. Now, he only needed to use this flying boat to move them once. Now, there were not many people in the Falling Star sect. Moreover, some people were unwilling to go too far away from their families and chose to return to their families. In this way, with the addition of the members of the Ya family, this flying boat was more than enough to carry them. Because they had already made preparations for the migration, it didn't take much time. It only took a day for all the members of the Meteor sect to be loaded. From now on, the Ya family would be part of the Meteor sect. The flying boat rose into the sky. Venerable Qinyu stood at the bow of the boat and looked down at Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian. He said, "Yi Xing, why aren't you two coming up?" Yi Xing waved his hand at the sky and said, "You guys go first. The two of us still have some matters to attend to. We'll leave on our own once we're done." Honorable Qinyu said, "You've angered the Blue Dragon Empire. The Blue Dragon Empire will definitely send honorables to investigate. Be careful." After saying that, Venerable Qinyu steered the flying boat, turned into a ray of light, and quickly disappeared into the horizon. "Let's go. We're going to the old site of the Spirit Moon sect." Yi Xing glanced at Wei Qingxian. The two of them steered their supreme-grade flying spirit tools and took to the sky, quickly disappearing into the distance. It was night. Two figures shuttled through the darkness. Yi Xing was worried that the Great Yuan dynasty would leave something behind at the old site of the Spirit Moon sect, so he didn't come during the day. Instead, he waited until night fell before coming over with Wei Qingxian. Darkness Force. When they were still dozens of li away from the Spirit Moon sect, Yi Xing used the Darkness Force. The aura of darkness enveloped him and Wei Qingxian. Yi Xing's darkness force had already reached the realm of being one with the world. His aura of darkness had completely merged with the night. Even honorables wouldn't be able to discover it. Before long, the two of them arrived near the old site of the Spirit Moon sect. The Spirit Moon sect had already been reduced to ruins. Broken fences and broken walls were everywhere. It was hard to imagine that more than 2 years ago, this place used to be a low-class one-star sect that controlled a country with a radius of 10,000 li. The prosperity it once had was gone. "Can we go to the Misty Moon Peak?" Wei Qingxian sent a voice transmission to Yi Xing, pointing at a tall mountain peak. The Misty Moon Peak was where Wei Qingxian used to live. During the few months she stayed at the Spirit Moon sect, she had always stayed at the Misty Moon Peak. Yi Xing nodded. The aura of darkness enveloped Wei Qingxian, and they went to the Misty Moon Peak. Before they arrived at the Misty Moon Peak, Yi Xing instinctively activated his super brain to scan the Misty Moon Peak. "Wait." Yi Xing sent a voice transmission to stop Wei Qingxian, saying, "Don't go. Someone is hiding at the Misty Moon Peak." At the peak of the Misty Moon Peak, under the dilapidated walls, there was an underground secret room. A black-clothed man sat cross-legged. Feeling Yi Xing's gaze, the black-clothed man in the underground secret room seemed to have sensed something. He let out a cry of surprise, and looked in Yi Xing's direction. Through the earth and rocks, the black-clothed man certainly could not see Yi Xing. Moreover, Yi Xing was now shrouded in darkness. Even without the earth and rocks, the black-clothed man could not see him. However, Yi Xing instantly became nervous. He immediately pulled Wei Qingxuan's hand and sent a voice transmission to her, "Let's go." The person hiding here is at least a venerable one. Under the cover of the aura of darkness, Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian became one with the night. They quickly left and changed their positions in an instant. Bang! On the misty moon peak, there was an explosion, and earth and rocks flew everywhere. The black-clothed man in the underground secret room appeared above the peak in an instant. He stepped on the void and came to the place where Yi Xing was standing just now. Was someone here just now? The black-clothed man secretly frowned and whispered to himself. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Could it be that I sensed wrongly? The black-clothed man did not find anything. He muttered to himself in surprise and returned to the misty moon peak. He disappeared and hid again. When the explosion sounded, Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian stopped and held their breaths. The two were shrouded in the dark aura of the oneness of heaven and man, so they were not discovered by the black-clothed man. When the black-clothed man hid, Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian dared to continue moving away from the old site of the Spirit Moon sect. After they were hundreds of miles away, Yi Xing made sure that no one was following them. Only then did he disperse the dark aura and speed up with Wei Qingxian. Looks like I was right. The Great Yuan dynasty did have a backup plan. If you really went up the misty moon peak, you would definitely be discovered. A venerable one, there's no way we can escape. Yi Xing said. Sigh. Wei Qingxian sighed and said, the Great Yuan dynasty is not only vicious, but also so cunning. I can't even go back to have a look. The only thing we can do now is to seize the time to cultivate. Only by increasing our strength can we take revenge and return to the old site. Yi Xing said firmly, there will be such a day. The two used the best flying spiritual weapon to fly and left the Green Cloud region in the night. They headed for the Green Feather Empire. On the third day after Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian left, Venerable Yi Ming of the Green Dragon Empire came to the Falling Star sect in the Green Cloud region. There was no one in the Falling Star sect. However, Yi Xing's formation was still there. The 9 serial killing formations were still there. Are there any monthly votes? Looking for monthly votes, looking for recommendation votes. Looking for excitement. Chapter 529. Outside the Falling Star Martial School, Reverend Yi Ming released his power. His horrifying reverend aura exploded, bringing up rolling chi waves. People of the Falling Star Martial School, get the hell out here. Reverend Yi Ming yelled. The chi waves in front of him suddenly became more than 10 times more intense, as if they could topple mountains and seas. This voice could be heard clearly even from hundreds of miles away. However, there was no response from the Falling Star Martial School. Ha! After waiting for a couple of breaths, the Falling Star Martial School was still silent. Reverend Yi Ming snorted coldly, looking quite unhappy. He thought that the martial artists of the Falling Star Martial School were all hiding, but he didn't know that the Falling Star Martial School had already moved. It was a big deal for a martial school to move, and it was very complicated. Even if they were well prepared, it wouldn't be done in a day or two. Unless they had a profound realm-flying spiritual item. However, the Falling Star Martial School was only a low-grade 1-star martial school. How could they have a profound realm-flying spiritual item? Therefore, Reverend Yi Ming didn't even consider that the Falling Star Martial School had already moved. Hide. I am here, and you still dare to hide. I will destroy your sect protection formation. Let's see how you can hide then. Reverend Yi Ming yelled. As soon as he finished speaking, he had already attacked. He threw out a punch. All of a sudden, the sky changed color, and the clouds started to surge. Chi flow poured down from the sky like a waterfall. There seemed to be endless power coming from the sky, making the power of Reverend Yi Ming's punch extremely horrifying. Astral-reaching realm warriors could sense the universe, and their attacks could draw the power of the universe. They were far more powerful than astral star realm warriors. Although half-step reverends could also draw the power of the universe, there were too few of them. They couldn't be compared to real reverends. Without exaggeration, even a casual attack from a normal one-star reverend would be more powerful than a full-power attack from 10 half-step reverends. Boom! The fist aura shot out, attacking the falling star Marshall School's formation like a small mountain. The air was compressed by the fist power, making an explosive sound. After Venerable Yi Ming threw out a punch, he relaxed and slowed down the circulation of the astral energy in his body. In his opinion, any LV3 formation would not be able to withstand his punch and would be destroyed. In the blink of an eye, the fist aura blasted onto the grand protective array of the falling stars sect. The Yin-Yang Golden Light Array was the first to appear. The Golden Light Array defended itself with golden light, but it was directly crushed by the fist aura. At the same time that the Yin-Yang Golden Light formation was shattered, the 9 serial killing formations were activated. In an instant, the 9 formations were activated simultaneously. Boom 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 boom. 9 explosions rang out as the 9 killing formations unleashed 9 attacks with a terrifying aura. These 9 attacks contained the elements of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, and darkness. When combined together, it was as if they had formed an even more terrifying formation that contained a peerless power. Bang! The gust of wind with the size of a hill, which was enough to kill a half-martial highness, was instantly shattered by the combined attacks of the 9 formations. At that instant, the 9 attacks tore through the air and landed in front of Yi Ming the Venerable. Reverend Yi Ming's eyes widened. His face was filled with astonishment and fear. The power of this formation. It was so horrifying that it could almost be compared with the weakest LV4 formation. However, how powerful was a LV4 formation? Even the weakest LV4 formation would be more than enough to kill a 1-star Venerable. How could this be? Reverend Yi Ming could not believe his eyes. These formations were only LV3 formations, but their power was close to LV4 formations. The counterattack of the 9 killing formations was way too fast. Even though Reverend Yi Ming was an astral reaching realm venerable, he could not dodge in time. All he could do was block. In a hurry, Reverend Yi Ming activated his astral energy. A beam of starlight shot out from between his eyebrows. He had used the star form. Moreover, endless chi flow poured down from the sky, drawing in a huge amount of universe power. All of the power formed a round shield around Reverend Yi Ming. After all, it was done in a hurry, and Reverend Yi Ming was not prepared enough. Although this shield was much more powerful than a half-step venerable, it was still not as powerful as his most powerful defense. Boom! A horrifying explosion sounded, shaking the sky and the earth. The power of the 9 formations was way too horrifying. 512 times the power of the formation exploded. It was like killing a god. Even if Reverend Yi Ming was in his most powerful defense, he would not be able to block out the power of this formation, not to mention right now. That round shield was shattered instantly. The attacks of the 9 formations landed on Reverend Yi Ming, who immediately let out a scream and backed out while puking out blood. While he was in the air, blood kept pouring out of his body, turning him into a bloody man. Reverend Yi Ming was blown 10 miles away by the power of the 9 formations. He landed on the ground, creating a huge hole in the ground. After breaking through to the astral reaching realm, the power of a martial artist's body would increase drastically. Reverends would be able to crush half-step venerables with their bodies alone. Because of this, Reverend Yi Ming was not turned into a cloud of blood mist by the power of the 9 formations. However, the injuries he suffered were also fatal. His internal organs were all shattered, his tendons and bones were all broken, and countless cracks had appeared on his skin. Not only did blood flow out from his mouth, it also flowed out from all over his body. Even though Reverend Yi Ming had an extremely powerful life force, he could not move anymore after he landed on the ground. This is Red Flame. Reverend's formation. Reverend Yi Ming opened his eyes wide. The light of life in his eyes gradually disappeared. He struggled to say a sentence, and then breathed his last. More than 100 years ago, 2 one-star reverends from the Blue Dragon Empire had died at the hands of the Red Flame Reverend. However, they were not killed by him directly, but by his formation. The Red Flame Reverend's battle power was indeed powerful. However, he could only fight evenly with one-star reverends. He was not powerful enough to kill one-star reverends. However, his 9 serial killing formations could. 100 years ago, Reverend Yi Ming had not been born yet. However, as a reverend from the Blue Dragon Empire, he naturally knew about the matter of the Red Flame Reverend killing the 2 reverends from the Blue Dragon Empire. He had never expected that 100 years ago, 2 one-star reverends from the Blue Dragon Empire had died under the Red Flame Reverend's 9 serial killing formations. 100 years later, he had died under the same formation. A reverend, who was like a legend in the true Xian region, had come to a low-grade 1-star sect to investigate something, and had died. This result was something that Reverend Yi Ming and Reverend Yuan Guang had never expected. However, these 9 killing formations were not controlled by anyone. If Reverend Yi Ming had been vigilant enough, he would have had time to escape when the 9 killing formations destroyed his fist aura. Unfortunately, he had let down his guard after throwing out a punch. Facing the attacks of the 9 killing formations, he had neither time to escape nor time to defend in his best state. Of course, he had been killed on the spot. Chapter 530. At the edge of the Green Feather region. The Barbaric Mountain Range was a huge mountain range that was several times larger than the Green Cloud Mountain Range. It stretched for hundreds of thousands of miles. Just like the Green Cloud Mountain Range, the Barbaric Mountain Range was also the territory of the demonic beasts. Moreover, there were more demonic beasts here, and their levels were higher. Legend had it that in the deepest part of the Barbaric Mountain Range, there were even level 4 demonic beasts that were equivalent to supremacies. Of course, this was just a legend. No one knew if it was true or not. This was because even supremacies were unwilling to enter the deepest part of the Barbaric Mountain Range. Level 4 demonic beasts were called demon supremacies. They were extremely powerful and could change their form. For example, they could change their body size or become human and walk upright. However, demon supremacies could only transform into human form. Although they could walk upright in human form, the hair on their body would not recede, and their head would remain in the form of a beast. Only level 5 demon kings could completely transform into human form and be no different from humans. Regardless of whether there were level 4 demon supremacies in the Barbaric Mountain Range, there were definitely many level 3 demonic beasts. Even level 3 high-tier demonic beasts that were equivalent to supremacies were not rare. Although many martial artists came to the Barbaric Mountain Range to train and hunt demonic beasts, there were many places that were deserted. There were even some places that were deserted. The location of the Falling Star sect's migration was in a deserted area in the Barbaric Mountain Range. Yi Xing wanted secrecy. Supremacy Qinyu did not have this condition and chose this place. According to the map given by Supremacy Qinyu, Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian arrived at the new location of the Falling Star sect in less than 10 days. The speed of the Mystic class flying spiritual weapon was much faster than the two of them. The martial artists of the Falling Star sect had already arrived a few days ago. After a few days, many wooden houses were built under a hidden cliff in this deserted area. There were also many stone rooms dug on the cliff. Martial artists were much faster than ordinary people when it came to construction. It did not take long for them to build all the necessary buildings and residences. Yi Xing did not stay idle. He set up formations around the new location of the Falling Star sect. killing formations, defensive formations, illusory formations, and various other formations were essential. While Yi Xing was busy setting up the formations, the Emperor of the Blue Dragon Empire, Supremacy Yuanguang, arrived at the Falling Star sect. 10 miles away from the Honorable Yuanguang saw the corpse of Honorable Yi Ming. The Tsang Dragon Empire only had 7 martial highnesses. The death of any one of them would be a great loss, resulting in the decline of the empire's strength. Honorable Yuanguang was enraged by Honorable Yi Ming's death. The furious Honorable Yuanguang destroyed all of the Falling Star sect's formations. A 2-star honorable was much stronger than a 1-star honorable. Honorable Qi Yan's 9-formation chain was also unable to stop a 2-star honorable. An insignificant disciple of an inferior 1-star sect, who merely obtained the inheritance of that old bastard Scarlet Flame, actually dared to slaughter so many experts of my Azure Dragon Empire, and cripple my beloved son's martial arts. Yi Xing, you deserve to die. Your sins are unforgivable. I'm going to exterminate your entire clan. Looking at the empty Honorable Yuanguang roared furiously. Honorable Qi Yan's burial ground also had 9-formation chain. The level 3 formation grandmaster who broke the formation had killed a team of martial artists from the Azure Dragon Empire, and crippled 9th Prince Long Zhao's martial arts. Now that Honorable Yuanguang had seen Honorable Qi Yan's 9-formation chain in the how could he not know that Yi Xing was the level 3 formation grandmaster who had crippled his son's martial arts. After the Falling Star sect moved, Honorable Yuanguang went to the Falling Star country to gather information. However, no one knew where the Falling Star sect had moved to. He only heard that Yi Xing's family was located in the Azure Sky City of the Purple Mountain County. Honorable Yuanguang's anger was then transferred to the Ya family. In the end, when Honorable Yuanguang arrived at the Azure Sky City, the Ya family was also gone. They had also moved. The furious Honorable Yuanguang went to the Azure Sky region to search for Yi Xing and the Falling Star sect. He didn't find any news in the Azure Sky region, so he searched within the True Xian region, but he still didn't find any news. However, it wasn't that he didn't find any news. Honorable Yuanguang found out that Yi Xing had become a student of the Blood Edge Empire's academy. Yi Xing, my Azure Dragon Empire will not live under the same sky as you. Even if you are a student of the Blood Edge Empire's academy, you will still die. Honorable Yuanguang's anger burned and his killing intent soared. As the Emperor of the Azure Dragon Empire, Honorable Yuanguang obviously couldn't leave the Empire for too long. After returning to the Azure Dragon Empire, Honorable Yuanguang gave the mission of hunting down Yi Xing to his brother, Long Yuanji. Honorable Yuanji, one of the 2-star honorables of the Azure Dragon Empire, left the Azure Dragon Empire and headed to the Blood Edge Empire. No matter where the Falling Star sect had moved to, Yi Xing was a student of the Blood Edge Empire's academy. There would be a day when he would return to the Blood Edge Empire's academy. Azure Feather Region, Barbaric Mountain Range, Falling Star Sect. After a month of construction, the martial artists' residences had been completed. Yi Xing had also finished setting up the array. The Falling Star Sect had been settled, and it was time to return to the Blood Edge Empire's academy. After leaving this time, Yi Xing wouldn't return for a while. Therefore, Yi Xing handed a large amount of resources to Gu Tianshang and Hua Tianfeng for safekeeping. For example, the elixirs he had bought in the Blood Edge Empire, the herbs he had obtained in the Divine Continent's secret realm, the corpse jade he had obtained in the Sky Corpse mountain range, and some grade 3 array materials. He only kept the grade 12 spiritual grade corpse jade for future breakthroughs. As for the grade 11 spiritual grade corpse jade, Yi Xing had already consumed it and raised his cultivation to the late 6th level of the astral realm. With these resources, the Falling Star sect wouldn't have to worry about rapid development in the next few years. When the day came for Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian to leave, Wu Yu, Gu Tianshang, Hua Tianfeng, Lin Tongyu, and the others all sent Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian off. Senior sister, Jingyue, really doesn't want to see me? Yixing asked Lin Tongyu in the Falling Star sect's newly built administrative building. Lin Tongyu said, "You know that she doesn't dare to see you in her current state. She doesn't want you to see her." Yixing sighed and said, "Help me tell her that I'll definitely find a heavenly treasure that can prolong her life and cure her." Lin Tongyu nodded. "Wu Yu, Master, Uncle Tiansheng, I'm leaving. Take care." Yixing and Wei Qingxian left. Everyone watched Yixing's back disappear from their sight before retracting their gazes. Gu Tiansheng raised his hand and patted Lin Tongyu's shoulder. "Danyu, Yixing's future is limitless. Only Miss Si Xian can accompany him on his path of martial arts. Calm down." Lin Tongyu's eyes welled up with tears as she nodded silently. "That Miss Jingyue, what's going on?" Yixing and Wei Qingxian flew side by side. Wei Qingxian asked. Yixing recounted the past of the witch made Wei Qingxian sigh. Wei Qingxian looked at Yixing and said, "I will also help you find a treasure that can prolong your life." Yixing smiled and nodded. Chapter 531. Yixing and Wei Qingxian first arrived at the capital of the Qingyu Empire and met with Honorable Qingyu. After asking him for some help, they used the teleportation array in the Qingyu city and arrived at the border of the Qingyu Empire. Then, the two of them flew to the capital of the Tianlang Empire and used the level 4 teleportation array to teleport to the capital of the Shuefeng Empire. In less than half a month, the two of them arrived at the Shuefeng Empire Academy in the middle of the third month. It took less than a day to travel from the Shuefeng Empire to but it took more than 10 days to return. This showed how convenient the teleportation array was. This kid is finally back. I have my eyes on you. The next time you leave the academy, it will be the time of your death. Honorable Yuanji was hiding outside the Shuefeng Empire Academy as he watched Yixing and Wei Qingxian enter the academy. The Shuefeng Empire Academy was located in the Shuefeng Empire. Even if Honorable Yuanji was given 100 guts, he would not dare to kill a student of the Shuefeng Empire Academy in the Shuefeng Empire. He could only wait for an opportunity. As long as Yixing left the academy, he would secretly follow him and have a chance to kill him. Yixing, my cultivation has just broken through to the 7th stage of the astral realm and I need to consolidate it. I plan to cultivate in the cultivation tower for a while to consolidate my cultivation. How about you? Do you want to cultivate with me? Wei Qingxian asked after entering the academy. My cultivation has already been consolidated and I need more experience. Let's do some missions to gain merit points and try to learn 2 supreme spiritual martial arts before the end of the year. Yixing said after thinking for a while. Alright then. Be careful when doing missions. Wei Qingxian said as she looked at Yixing with a smile. The two of them separated. Wei Qingxian went to the cultivation tower while Yixing went to the mission hall. In the mission hall, Yixing accepted a mission to kill the rapist Yixingkong. Yixingkong's introduction was written in the mission description: Yixingkong, Astral Star Realm Stage 8, a traitor of the Black Raven Empire Academy. He was born in the royal family of the Black Raven Empire, but he was expelled from the royal family of the Black Raven Empire for raping and killing the students of the Black Raven Academy. Since then, Yixingkong had been roaming around the lower rank empires and various lower regions, raping and killing female warriors for fun. In just 2 years, he had raped and killed more than 260 female warriors. Yixingkong's movement technique was outstanding. His whereabouts were mysterious, and he was cunning. Furthermore, he was proficient in the art of disguise. The reward for killing him was 1,000 merit points. Yixingkong's latest crime was in the South Region South Continent City. If a martial artist above Venerable 9-star appears, this person will immediately flee and disappear without a trace. The person who accepts the mission must have a cultivation base lower than the 9th level of the astral star realm. Most of the missions would only reward a few hundred contribution points, but this mission was worth 1,000 contribution points. It was obvious that this Yi Xingkong had committed too many crimes, which made him annoying. Since he was doing missions, of course Yi Xing would choose the one with the highest reward. With 5 missions like this, he would be able to choose a supreme quality spiritual martial art to learn. Yi Xing rested in the academy for a night and set out to kill Yi Xingkong the next day. As soon as he left the Blood Edge Academy, Honorable Yuan secretly followed him. However, Yi Xing did not leave the Blood Edge Empire. Instead, he went to the teleportation hole. The south region was located in the south of the East continent. It was very far from the Blood Edge Empire and was not much closer than the True Xian region. Therefore, Yi Xing had to use the teleportation formation to reach there directly. After paying the teleportation formation fee and confirming the direction and distance, Yi Xing was teleported to the south region in the blink of an eye. Flapping his flame wings, Yi Xing's speed was extremely fast. Soon, he disappeared without a trace. The teleportation formation was used for long-distance teleportation. Every time it was used, it had to wait for 15 minutes before it could be used again. After 15 minutes, Honorable Yuan was also teleported to the south region. However, Yi Xing was nowhere to be seen. Damn it, where the hell did I teleport to? Honorable Yuan was teleported directly through the teleportation formation that Yi Xing had adjusted, so he did not know where the destination was. Soon, Honorable Yuan found a martial artist and asked around. Only then did he know that this was the south region. The south region is so vast. Where exactly is this kid going? If I look for him, it will be like looking for a needle in the sea. He must have something to do here. After finishing his business, he will go back. He must use the teleportation formation to go back. I will go to the South Sky City and wait for this kid to walk into the trap. Honorable Yuan thought for a while and then went to the South Sky City. In the south region, only the South Sky City had the teleportation formation. After 2 hours, Yi Xing arrived at the South Region City. The South Region City was also one of the big cities in the South Region. There was one superior 1-star family and 2 intermediate 1-star families in the city. During the day, Yi Xing naturally could not find any information about Yi Xingkong's mission. This person was proficient in disguise. Even if Yi Xing knew him, he could not find him. However, Yi Xing believed that as long as Yi Xingkong was still in the South Region City, he would definitely commit another crime. He found an inn and booked a good room. During the day, Yi Xing gathered information in the restaurant on the first floor of the inn. At night, Yi Xing went out and went to the top of the South Star Tower, the tallest building in the city. He looked into the distance and observed the surroundings. Every time a suspicious person appeared, Yi Xing would use the dark force to hide his figure and secretly track him to see what he was going to do. On the first and second night, Yi Xing tracked a few suspicious people, but none of them were Yi Xingkong. On the third night, a black-clothed man attracted Yi Xing's attention. This black-clothed man came out from the Lin family, one of the 2 intermediate 1-star families in the South Region City. He was even carrying a blanket. In the middle of the night, he would definitely not carry the blanket and run around. There must be a woman in the blanket. The woman's identity must not be ordinary. Soon, the Lin mansion was filled with torches. Dozens of middle-level perfected masters rushed out from all directions to track the murderer. However, the black-clothed man was very fast. He blended into the night and soon disappeared. Those middle-level perfected masters did not notice him. However, he could not escape from Yi Xing's pursuit. The dark force enveloped Yi Xing and Yi Xing blended into the night. Even an honorable would have a hard time discovering him. Naturally, the black-clothed man did not know that someone was following him. The black-clothed man carried the blanket and soon arrived at a remote courtyard. He entered the room and threw the blanket on the bed. Indeed, there was a beautiful girl in the blanket. The girl's eyes were filled with fear. However, she could not speak or move. Her acupoints were sealed. The black-clothed man took off his mask. He looked like a young man in his 20s. His face was pale. Hee. The black-clothed man looked at the girl on the bed and laughed. Little beauty, don't be afraid now. I, Yixinkong, will make you feel so good that you want to die. After you are done, I will cut you into pieces. It won't be too late for you to be afraid then. Ha! This man was indeed Yixinkong. Yixinkong finished speaking and was about to take off the girl's clothes. At this moment, a voice came from outside the room. Yixinkong, I finally found you. End of the 4th update. The Archer God did not make any progress on the monthly votes list. He was still very far behind. Brothers, do you still have any monthly votes? Tomorrow will be another 50 monthly votes. Please support me with monthly votes. Please also give me a free recommendation. Thank you. Chapter 532. Yixinkong's hair stood on end, and he was shocked. He had always been cautious. Although he had committed crimes many times, he would immediately run away and find another place to commit crimes whenever a venerable 9-star or above appeared nearby. Therefore, although he had been hunted many times over the past 2 years, he had always managed to escape. However, this time, someone had tracked him to his residence without him noticing. This was the first time. In Yixinkong's opinion, if the person wasn't a venerable, how could they track him without him noticing? However, when did a venerable come to South Continent City? It shouldn't be. Countless thoughts flashed through Yixinkong's mind at that moment as he stared at the door with vigilance. Bang! The door was blasted open by Yixing. Yixinkong immediately wanted to break the window and escape, but the moment he saw Yixing, he forcefully stopped that thought. The person who had blasted open the door was a young man younger than him. Moreover, his aura wasn't that strong. He wasn't a venerable at all, but a young martial artist. Yixinkong's courage was boosted when he saw that the person wasn't that scary. He stared at Yixing and asked, "Who are you?" Yixing also stared at him and said, "Yixing from Bloodblade Academy, the person who's going to kill you." Yixinkong sensed Yixing's aura and sneered, "A venerable 6 stars dares to kill me, Yixinkong. How dare you? In the past 2 years, I've killed several people like you who don't know what's good for them. Kill me. I think you're here to die." Seeing that Yixing was alone and was only a venerable 6 stars, Yixinkong didn't take him seriously at all. Although Yixing's tracking technique was amazing, it was just a tracking technique. How strong could a venerable 6 stars be? Even if he could challenge those of a higher level, he wouldn't be that strong. As he spoke, Yixinkong's aura became more violent and stronger. His hands were covered with a layer of black flames, and the temperature of the air around him rose rapidly. Yixinkong laughed and said, "Since your surname is Yi, I'll leave your corpse intact." Who as he spoke, Yixing's figure flashed and appeared in the courtyard. Then, he struck his palm toward Yixing. Black Crow Academy Supreme Class Spiritual Martial Art, Black Flame Palm. The wind from the palm hit his face, and a wave of heat hit him. The crackling sound of burning fire could be heard in the air. It could be seen how hot this palm was. Yixinkong's palm strike could even kill a venerable 7-star, let alone a 6-star venerable. Yixing was indifferent in the face of this terrifying palm. He did not dodge or evade. He only used the strength of his physical body to push his palm forward. There was an explosion in the void. Yixing's pushing force was too strong, and his speed was too fast. The air was compressed and exploded, instantly colliding with Yixinkong's palm. The Dark Star Spirit Body was a part of the Divine Level Body Refining Technique. It was not only powerful in terms of strength, but also greatly enhanced the strength of the body, making the body as tough as a precious weapon. After the Dark Star Spirit Body was completed, Yixing's physical body was almost as tough as an upper-grade spiritual weapon. Therefore, Yixing did not use the burning flame gloves at all. He just used his palm to fight. Spiritual weapons that were not of the highest grade were useless against Yixing. Bang! Yixing's palm and Yixingkong's black fire palm collided, and there was an explosion. Yixing did not even take half a step back, but Yixingkong was instantly sent flying. There was another explosion. Yixingkong's body crashed into the wall of the house, and a part of it collapsed. When the two palms collided, a layer of dark light appeared on Yixing's palm. The force of the opponent's palm entered Yixing's body and quickly disappeared. Darkness had the effect of devouring and absorbing. The Dark Star Spirit Body was not only powerful and sturdy, but also had the ability to absorb the force of the enemy's attack. This kind of absorption did not absorb the enemy's force for one's own use. Instead, it dissolved the enemy's force into nothingness, greatly increasing one's physical body's endurance and defense. Yixingkong could not believe that he, an 8-star Venerable Master, was sent flying by a 6-star Venerable Master. Whoosh! A ray of starlight shot up to the sky. Yixingkong instantly used his astrology, and a blazing astrology floated in the sky. Die! Yixingkong shouted angrily. The black flames on his palms became more intense. Using astrology, his strength doubled. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yixingkong rushed up again and struck out with his palms. A terrifying heat wave surged out, and its power was shocking. That's all you got? Yixing said calmly. He was still using his physical strength to fight against his opponent. Every time he struck out with his palms, the air would explode. It contained a terrifying power that could shake the heavens and earth. Bang! 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 Yixing stood still while Yixingkong attacked him from all directions. Their palms collided with each other at an extremely fast speed, and a loud sound could be heard. Yixing's physical strength was too strong. Even though Yixingkong used his astrology, Yixing was not at a disadvantage. After exchanging more than 10 moves, Yixingkong became more and more surprised. This 6-star Venerable's physical body was too strong. Suddenly, Yixing clenched his fist and activated his astral energy. He threw out a flaming fist, and used the flaming astral fist. Combining his physical strength with astral energy and martial arts, Yixing's strength increased by another level. In an instant, the tie was broken, and Yixingkong was forced to retreat. Whoosh! Yixing used the flaming astrology. It was an extreme flaming astrology, which was one level higher than Yixingkong's astrology. This caused Yixing's strength to increase even more. Tiger Roar and Dragon Roar. Yixing used his ultimate move. The flaming astral energy fell, and his fist was extremely terrifying. Bang! With a loud explosion, the fist and palm collided. Yixingkong was sent flying again, and he spat out blood. He was injured. Yixing took a big step forward and continued to attack. He threw out another punch. Kill him while he's down. Do you really think I'm only an 8-star Venerable? You're digging your own grave. Yixingkong, who was sent flying, roared angrily. His aura increased again. His aura increased by 1 level, and he became a 9-star Venerable. It turned out that Yixingkong had used a secret technique to suppress his cultivation. The 9th level of the astral star realm was his true cultivation level. Bang! Yixingkong's strength increased, and he threw out a palm. Yixing's fist was blocked, and Yixingkong was forced to take a few steps back. The 9-star Venerable was too strong. Yixing was no match for him. However, his physical body was strong, and his dark astral energy could dissolve Yixingkong's palm energy. It was easy for Yi Xingkong to push him back, but difficult to injure him. Die for me. Yi Xingkong's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He unleashed his full strength and threw out another 2 palms. Whoosh, 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 Yi Xing activated the flaming shield formation flag and blocked Yi Xingkong's attack. He smiled and said, "You've hidden your strength well. However, the 9-star Venerable is nothing to me." Level 3 Array Grandmaster? Yi Xingkong exclaimed. He was shocked and could not believe it. Brothers, you don't have a monthly vote, but you can vote for me for free. Thank you. Chapter 533. A 6-star perfected being whose physical strength was stronger than an 8-star perfected being was already very freakish. Yet, he was also a level 3 formation grandmaster. How was he supposed to survive? Ever since Yi Xingkong was expelled from the royal family of the Black Crow Empire, he knew that he had lost his backer. He could only rely on himself if he wanted to survive. Therefore, Yi Xingkong had always been very cautious. After he broke through to level 9 Astral Star Realm, he used a secret technique to suppress his cultivation to level 8 Astral Star Realm so that others would not know his true cultivation. He purposely learned the art of disguise and constantly changed his appearance when he was outside. This way, people would only know who he was when he was committing a crime. He always paid attention to his surroundings. If there was any trouble, he would run away. He even had to avoid opponents of the same level to avoid risks. That was the exact reason why he never failed even though he had committed more than 200 crimes over the past 2 years. This was because his targets were all targets that he could afford to offend. Once a Venerable One or a half-step Venerable One investigated him, he would always disappear without a trace. But today, he had taken a tumble. He did not expect a 6 stars enlightened master to have such terrifying strength. Moreover, Yi Xingkong was so young, but he was a level 3 array grandmaster. Whoosh 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 whoosh, Yi Xingkong activated the flame shield array to block Yi Xingkong's attack. Then, he immediately activated the azure wood sword array. The array flags were placed in 4 directions. They were about 3 meters long and shone brightly. Streaks of azure wood sword chi were shot out. Damn it! Yi Xingkong cursed. If Yi Xingkong only had defensive array flags, he could only protect himself. However, Yi Xingkong had offensive array flags. If he continued to fight, Yi Xingkong would definitely die. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Yi Xingkong's figure suddenly split into 3, like 3 rays of light, shooting in 3 different directions. 2 of the figures were hit by the azure wood sword array and disappeared without a trace. The other figure instantly rushed out of the range of the azure wood sword array. A supreme-grade flying spiritual device appeared behind him and he quickly flew away. Yi Xingkong's comprehension of the grand force of wind had reached an extremely profound level. His speed was very fast, even faster than other cultivators of the same level. Yi Xing didn't give chase. Instead, he raised his hand and the Big Dipper bow appeared in his hand. He instantly drew the bow into a full moon. The 7 gems emitted starlight and condensed into a starlight arrow, locking onto Yi Xingkong who was flying in the sky. Whoosh! The starlight arrow pierced through the air and shot out 20 miles in the blink of an eye. Yi Xingkong, who was flying, was pierced through the heart by the arrow and fell from the sky. When the Big Dipper bow was pulled into a full moon, it had the power to kill Venerable 9 stars. Yi Xingkong was flying with all his might. He didn't expect Yi Xing to be an expert in archery. His heart was pierced through, and he died. Before Yi Xing landed on the ground, Yi Xing had already flown over and caught him. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. It had already alerted all the cultivators in the South Continent City, especially the Lin family's cultivators, who had already rushed over. Yi Xing led the Lin family's cultivators into the house. The young girl captured by Yixing was saved. The Lin family's cultivators thanked Yixing profusely. After confirming Yixing's death, Yixing took his storage ring and handed the corpse to the Lin family. When he killed Yixing, he had recorded it with a recording formation. This was the proof of his killing. The next day, Yixing left the South Continent City and headed towards the South Sky City. There was a teleportation formation there, which could save him a lot of time. At noon, Yixing arrived at the South Sky City. "Little brat, you really came." In the South Sky City, on a certain tall building, Honorable Yuanji opened his martial Dao heavenly eye and scanned the surroundings. He saw Yixing from afar. After astral reaching realm cultivators connected with the universe, they could open their martial Dao heavenly eye, which was located between their eyebrows and had the ability to see far. The martial Dao heavenly eye of honorable realm cultivators could see from 100 to 100 li. Yixing's azure cloud eyes had already been cultivated to an extremely high level. Even so, he could only see 100 li or so. For honorable realm cultivators, this was a huge advantage. But for honorable realm cultivators, it was nothing. Yixing hadn't even entered the South Sky City when he felt a horrifying aura locking onto him. This made his expression change, and he stopped moving forward. Looking into the distance, he looked in the direction of that horrifying aura. He saw an expert treading on the void above the South Sky City. Treading on the void, it was an honorable realm cultivator. Yixing was startled. How could an honorable realm cultivator lock onto him with an aura and reveal killing intent? Yixing didn't know who this honorable realm cultivator was, but he could feel the danger. Without thinking, he turned around and fled. The flame wings were replaced by the azure cloud wings. Yixing used the momentum of the wind to increase his speed to the limit. He was like a ray of light streaking across the sky. However, Honorable Yuanji, who was behind him, was even faster. Honorable Yuanji walked in the air. He communicated with the universe of heaven and earth. His body was like a molecule of heaven and earth, and the air was like land. In fact, the airflow under his feet formed flowing clouds, increasing his speed. Not long after, Honorable Yuanji had already caught up to Yixing for a few li. He opened his 5 fingers and grabbed at Yixing rip. A huge astral hand grabbed out, tearing through the air. In the blink of an eye, it grabbed several li and arrived behind Yixing. This palm was the size of a small mountain. When its 5 fingers opened, it was dozens of feet wide. Compared to this huge hand, Yixing's figure was like a small insect under a normal palm. The 5 fingers of the huge hand bent and grabbed fiercely. The palm was still behind Yixing, but the fingertips were already in front of Yixing. It was like a cage. As the 5 fingers closed in, the space in the palm became smaller and smaller. Although Yixing was moving forward rapidly, the speed of the palm was not slower than Yixing's. Under this grab, Yixing would not be able to dodge. He would definitely be caught by this astral hand. Faster. I need to be faster. At this critical moment, Yixing's essence, energy, and spirit were raised to the limit. He circulated the astral energy and controlled the azure cloud wings to flap rapidly. The momentum of the wind was also used to the limit, increasing his speed to an even faster level. Faster! Yixing roared in his heart. Whoosh! Just as the 5 fingers closed in and were about to grab completely, Yixing's speed suddenly increased by a notch. Yixing's small figure shot out from the gap between the 5 fingers the moment the 5 fingers closed. Boom! The 5 fingers of the astral hand grabbed together. The air in the space in the palm was squeezed and exploded, making a loud noise. Whoosh! Yixing let out a long breath, thinking that it was a close call. Fortunately, at the last moment, his comprehension of the momentum of the wind had finally broken through to the great success stage of the momentum. Only then did he suddenly increase his speed and escape the grasp of the astral hand. At this point, Yixing's wind, fire, and darkness forces had all reached the great success stage. Chapter 534. Yixing had escaped from Honorable Yuanji's grasp, and his wind momentum had reached the realm of being one with the world. However, Yixing did not feel happy. The difference between a perfected being and a venerable was too great. He was still in danger. That was indeed the case. Even though Yixing's speed had increased due to the breakthrough of the wind momentum, Honorable Yuanji, who was behind him, was only slightly surprised. He was still confident in chasing after Yixing. "Kid, your speed is indeed incomparably fast among perfected beings. No one can compare to you. However, you're still far from being comparable to me," Honorable Yuanji shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, his aura became even more terrifying. A venerable speed was related to the strength of the stars, the strength of the universe, the wind momentum, and the attainment of lightness techniques, and so on. Once a venerable unleashed his speed to the limit, his speed would be extremely terrifying. Under Honorable Yuanji's feet, the flowing clouds flew like a ray of light across the sky. His speed gradually increased, and the distance between him and Yixing gradually shrank. Not long after, the distance between the two of them was reduced to less than 5 kilometers. "Kid, let's see how you're going to escape this time," Honorable Yuanji snorted coldly. He opened his 5 fingers and grabbed at Yixing. In an instant, a large hand of stars tore through the air and grabbed at Yixing's back. Yixing's heart tightened. This time, he had already unleashed his speed to the limit. No matter what, he could not increase his speed again. There was no way he could dodge this grab. The only way was to forcefully break the palm print behind him. The flame astral projection instantly rushed out from between Yixing's brows. The supreme grade spirit weapon, the dragon blood spear, instantly appeared in Yixing's hand. In the blink of an eye, Yixing used the ultimate move of the solar flame spear technique and turned around to stab behind him. Just as Yixing turned around, a look of shock flashed across his eyes. He saw a palm print the size of a small mountain coming towards him. However, in the distant sky, there was an even bigger palm descending from the sky. If the hand that was grabbing at Yixing was like a small mountain, then the hand that was descending from the sky was like a giant mountain. When that huge hand opened up, it truly blotted out the sky. Not only was this enormous hand larger than exalted Yuanji's astral hand, its speed was also much faster. Seeing that Yixing was about to be grabbed by his astral hand, the corners of Honorable Yuanji's lips curled up slightly. However, before he could feel the joy in his heart, all the hair on his body stood up as he sensed a fatal danger. The sky suddenly darkened. Honorable Yuanji raised his head and saw a gigantic palm descending from the sky. This huge hand covered an area of several miles, blotting out the sky and the sun. Naturally, the light in the void below was dimmed. This is... Honorable Yuanji's heart was filled with fear. What kind of powerhouse would be able to pull out such a huge astral hand? The person who attacked was at least 10 times stronger than him. No, more than 100 times stronger. Honorable Yuanji did not have time to guess the owner of this astral hand at all. The speed at which it was descending was unbelievably fast. The moment he saw the astral hand, he felt an immense pain at the same time. His surroundings turned into darkness as the astral hand grabbed him. The immense pain came so quickly and violently that Honorable Yuanji did not even have time to think. His body was crushed into a ball and he was directly crushed to death by the astral hand. Until his death, he did not know who the owner of this astral hand was. He did not have time to guess why this astral hand wanted to kill him. In just a moment of shock, he had lost his life. With Honorable Yuanji dead, the astral hand that was grabbing at Yixing naturally dissipated. It did not even touch Yixing's spear, which showed how fast Honorable Yuanji died. The hand that crushed Honorable Yung to death retracted into the void and disappeared. The Black Biao King's voice sounded in Yixing's ear, "Brother Yi, the danger has been eliminated. You can go back without worry." Yixing felt relieved. No wonder the astral hand was so powerful and could kill Honorable Yung in an instant. It was the Black Biao King who attacked. Of course, the only king that Yixing knew was the Black Biao King. The king who saved him was of course the Black Biao King. The Black Biao King indeed valued Yixing, the demon star in troubled times. Ever since Yixing participated in the second genius election, he had been secretly guarding him. After all, Yixing's identity had already been suspected by the Great Yuan dynasty. Although the Black Biao King believed that the Great Yuan dynasty would definitely make a move after the third genius election, he still had to be prepared. What if the Great Yuan dynasty secretly killed all the suspects before the third genius election competition? Of course, the Black Biao King would secretly guard Yixing. The Blue Dragon Empire only had two two-star honorables. Sending one of them to kill Yixing should have been an easy task. Who would have thought that Yixing had a king secretly guarding him? In the end, he had sent himself to death. To the Blue Dragon Empire, this was a heavy blow. The death of Honorable Yung was a much greater loss than the death of Honorable Yiming. Soon, Yixing returned to the South Continent city. Using the transportation formation, he was transported to the border of the South Sky region. Then, he hurried to the nearest middle-class empire. Most of the middle-class empires had completed level 4 transportation formations that could quickly return to the Blood Edge Empire. 10 days later, Yixing returned to the academy and handed in the mission. He had received 1,000 merit points. Learning a supreme rank spiritual martial art required 5,000 merit points. He also had to continue doing some academy missions. However, 1,000 merit point mission was relatively rare. It was not easy to find one. Most of the missions were only a few hundred merit points. Yixing's strength was already at the top of the enlightened masters. Every time, he would choose the missions with the most merit points. After spending more than a month, he finally collected 5,000 merit points. Heading to the Blood Edge Palace, Yixing used 5,000 merit points to exchange for a supreme rank spiritual martial art Wind Shadow Spear Art. The Wind Shadow Spear Art was related to both wind and darkness attributes. Yixing's Wind Force and Darkness Force had reached the major success stage of Force, reaching the realm of one with the heavens. Therefore, cultivating the Wind Shadow Spear Art would be twice the result with half the effort. After exchanging for the Wind Shadow Spear Art, Yixing was not in a hurry to do the Academy's missions. Instead, he practiced martial arts until he mastered the Wind Shadow Spear Art. Yixing's Flaming Dipper Fist and Sunfire Spear Art were both at the transformation stage. Yixing had to at least reach the stage of great success for the Wind Shadow Spear Art's power to be on par with the Flaming Dipper Fist and Sunfire Spear Art. If he could reach the perfection stage, his power would be even higher than the Flaming Dipper Fist and Sunfire Spear Art. Yixing first practiced using the Super Brain. Then, he practiced his spear in the Academy's backyard deep in the mountains. His improvement was godly. In less than half a month, Yixing's Wind Shadow Spear Art had reached the limit of great success and was close to the perfection stage. Chapter 535. Yixing planned to cultivate his Wind Shadow Spear Arts to perfection in one go, increasing his strength a bit more. Just like the previous 10 days, Yixing woke up early in the morning and headed for the mountains. Yixing had just left when he was stopped by Wei Qingxian. "You came out of the cultivation tower." Yixing stopped and saw Wei Qingxian. His mood inexplicably improved a lot. "Yeah, I've already consolidated my cultivation to peak 7th layer. There's no need to continue cultivating in the cultivation tower. I've come out to explore." Who knows, maybe I'll break through one day. Wei Qingxian faintly smiled and walked in front of Yixing. Yixing, why are you going out so early? I've already exchanged for an extreme-grade spirit martial art. I'm planning to cultivate in the backyard. I came out of the cultivation tower and passed by the mission palace. The academy has issued a big mission. I think we should go. Wei Qingxian said. What mission? Enter the ancient ruins to find the Eternity Flower. Hand over one Eternity Flower to the academy and you'll get 5,000 merit points. Such a high reward. Yixing was astonished. The Eternity Flower can help people communicate with the universe. It has a great effect on half-step venerable breaking through to venerable or venerable. It's incomparably precious. Of course, it's worth such a high reward. Wei Qingxian clearly knew more than Yixing. The Eternity Flower is an extremely rare and exotic flower. There are very few places in the Star Continent that can produce it. The Ancient Ruins is the only place in the East Divine Continent that can produce it. Every year, the Eternity Flower will bloom in the 6th and 8th months. Ancient Ruins. Yixing had heard of this place before, and said, I heard that there are restrictions in the Ancient Ruins. Once a warrior above the astral reaching realm enters, the restrictions will be activated. Only warriors below the astral reaching realm can enter. That's right. Therefore, even though the Eternity Flower is precious, venerables and kings cannot enter the Ancient Ruins. Cultivators who are too weak cannot survive in the Ancient Ruins. Wei Qingxian said, only saint-level martial artists have the qualifications to search for the Eternity Flower. When martial artists enter the Ancient Ruins, they enter in teams. I think the two of us will be enough. Alright, let's go together. Yixing nodded. When are we leaving? It was too difficult to earn merit points by doing other missions. Even though Yixing was powerful and chose the missions with the highest merit points, he still spent more than a month to earn enough merit points to learn an extreme-grade spirit martial art. As for the Eternity Flower, as long as one could find one, they would be rewarded with 5,000 merit points. Yixing naturally had to go. Moreover, the Eternity Flower was so precious. It was useful for breaking through to the venerable realm. It would be good for him to find more and keep them. The day after tomorrow, it will be June. Let's leave now. It will take some time on the road. Wei Qingxian said. There was no need to go to the mission hall to find the Eternity Flower. As long as one could find the Eternity Flower and hand it over to the academy, they would be rewarded with 5,000 merit points. Yixing and Wei Qingxian directly left the Blood Edge Academy. To be exact, the Ancient Ruins were not located in the East Divine Continent, but in the ocean west of the East Divine Continent. The Star Continent was not a single entity, but a collective name for many continents. These continents were all surrounded by oceans, and their surface areas varied. Among them, there were 5 continents that were larger than 10 million li. There was one in each direction, and one in the center. Moreover, the center continent was the largest, which was the Middle Sky Continent. The other 4 continents were the East Divine Continent, the South Continent, the West Continent, and the North Nether Continent. The East Divine Continent and the Middle Sky Continent were separated by a vast ocean, tens of millions of li away. There were incomparably powerful demonic beasts in the ocean. If one did not use transmission arrays, it would be very difficult for cultivators to travel between the East Divine Continent and the Middle Sky Continent. It was the same for the other 4 continents. This was the reason why the Great Yuan dynasty had great control over the Middle Sky Continent, but not the other 4 continents. Other than the 5 large continents, the other continents were relatively small. They were like islands, densely packed together. The larger ones were tens of thousands of li wide, and the smaller ones were only the tip of the ocean. The Ancient Ruins was one of the larger continents, about 2 million li away from the East Divine Continent. Compared to the tens of millions of li from the middle sky continent, 2 million li was naturally very close. Yixing and Wei Qingxian bought some necessities in the Blood Edge Empire. Through the large success Grade 4 transmission array, they confirmed their location. The furthest they could be teleported was 10 million li in the blink of an eye. It was no longer land under their feet, but a vast ocean. The wings of the Supreme Grade Flying Spirit artifact spread, and the two floated in the air. There was nothing but ocean around them. There was no land in sight. The waves in the ocean came wave after wave, never stopping. The ocean feels so good. Yixing enjoyed the sea breeze and waves. He was in a good mood. Let's go this way. Wei Qingxian took out a map and confirmed their location. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two patted the Supreme Grade Flying Spirit artifact and flew across the sky like two streaks of light. The place where they were at was not far from the ancient ruins. It was only a little more than a day's journey. As the two of them continued to advance, it did not take long for them to see land. One island after another streaked past their feet. In the evening, the two arrived at a relatively large island called East Ruins Island. East Ruins Island was located in the eastern part of the ancient ruins. It was only tens of thousands of li away. If an esteemed master had a Supreme Grade Flying Spirit artifact, it would only take 2 to 4 hours to travel tens of thousands of li. It was a very short distance. East Ruins Island was one of the 3 places one had to pass through on their way to the primordial ruins from the East Divine Continent. As more and more martial practitioners came and went, they gathered together and naturally formed a market. As time passed, some people even settled down on East Ruins Island. The two found an inn on East Ruins Island and rested for the night. They would depart the next day and enter the ancient ruins. Rest early, Yixing. You too. The two booked a room each. After chatting for a while in Yixing's room, Wei Qingxian returned to her room. There are ancient demon beasts in the ancient ruins. They are as strong as the geniuses of the human race who can fight above their level. Moreover, the danger in the antiquity ruins doesn't only come from the antiquity demonic beasts. There must be a lot of martial artists who have entered the antiquity ruins to search for the eternity flower. These martial artists are at least sages, and many of them are top astral realm experts. It's hard to fathom a person's heart. It's inconvenient for me to expose my trump cards in certain situations. Therefore, I need to improve my own strength. Yixing sat quietly in his room and thought carefully. Then, he raised his hand, and the 12th grade Spirit Grade Corpse Jade appeared in his hand. My cultivation has stabilized to the limit of the 6th level of the astral realm. If I absorb this Corpse Jade, it'll be enough for me to break through to the 7th level. Yixing held the Corpse Jade in his hand and circulated the Spirit Grade Supreme Grade Falling Star art to absorb and cultivate. Chapter 536. A 12th grade Spirit Grade Corpse Jade was even useful for exalted 9 stars. Yixing was now a 6 stars enlightened master. Although his astral body was powerful, and his requirements for the grade of the Corpse Jade were much higher than those of the same level, it was only comparable to an 8 stars enlightened master. This piece of Corpse Jade was obviously enough for him to make a breakthrough. Yixing channeled the falling star incantation, and his black hole stellar vortex spun at the same time, creating a suction force to absorb the star energy in the Corpse Jade. Yixing's absorption speed of the Corpse Jade was much faster than when he was a 3 or 4 stars enlightened master. In just one night, Yixing had absorbed almost half of the 12th grade Spirit Grade Corpse Jade, and his cultivation had naturally broken through to the 7th level of the astral body realm. The remaining half of the Corpse Jade could help him consolidate his cultivation at the 7th level of the astral body realm. Yixing put away this half of the Corpse Jade. The star energy in the Corpse Jade was extremely pure, especially the 12th grade spirit grade corpse jade. It was incomparably pure and of high quality. He wasn't like Wei Qingxian, who could make a breakthrough naturally. There were more or less obstacles in every realm. When his cultivation reached the peak of the 7th level of the astral body realm, this half of the corpse jade might be useful for him to break through to the 8th level of the astral body realm. Compared to using it now, it was obviously more useful for him to break through to the 8th level of the astral body realm. The next day, Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian continued their journey to the ancient ruins. June, July, and August were the months when the Eternity Flower bloomed. Every year at this time, many high-level astral body enlightened masters would enter the ancient ruins to search for the Eternity Flower. These enlightened masters came from various two-star forces in the East Divine Continent. Some even came from the Middle Sky Continent. June was the next day, and it was the peak time for martial practitioners to enter the ancient ruins. The East Ruins Island was one of the 3 places that the East Divine Continent had to pass through to reach the ancient ruins. Therefore, many martial practitioners who were heading to the ancient ruins spent the night at the East Ruins Island. Yesterday evening, Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian had just arrived at East Ruins Island. After that, they found an inn to stay in, so they didn't sense too many foreign martial practitioners. However, when the duo set off from East Ruins Island, they saw group after group of martial practitioners heading towards the ancient ruins from East Ruins Island. The smaller teams had 3 to 5 people, while the larger ones had 7 to 8 people. There was at least one venerable 9-star in each team. In comparison, Yi Xing's and Wei Qingxuan's teams were very thin. There were only 2 of them, and both of them were only venerated 7 stars. In the eyes of some people, Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian were 2 fat sheep. There were tens of thousands of kilometers between East Ruins Island and the ancient ruins. 3 great pirate forces occupied this area: Green Dragon Island, West Water Fort, and the Sea Shark Gang. The martial practitioners heading to the ancient ruins were at least in the astral realm. The fact that these 3 pirate forces were able to survive near the ancient ruins meant that they were powerful, and they had at least one venerable 9-star. The number 1 pirate force, Green Dragon Island, even had 2 venerable 9 stars. The sea between East Ruins Island and the ancient ruins wasn't small, and the 3 pirate forces had divided it into 3 regions. Each of them controlled a region and minded their own business. When Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian left East Ruins Island, the route they took was under the Sea Shark Gang's control. They were targeted by the Sea Shark Gang since a long time ago. Ow! Ew! Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian were about 5,000 kilometers away from East Ruins Island when a series of shouts suddenly came from ahead. Suddenly, dozens of people rushed out from one of the islands toward Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian. These martial artists were all Taoist masters of the astral realm. There were early, middle, and high levels of the astral realm. The one with the highest cultivation was a burly man at the 9th level of the astral realm. In addition, there was an 8-star venerable master and 2 7-star venerable masters. There were a total of 4 venerable masters. It was the Sea Shark Gang's men. They had long known about Yi Xing's route through their informants and had planned to intercept them. Soon, the Sea Shark Gang's warriors stood in a line in front of Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian. Congratulations, faction leader. This little girl is so beautiful, she's like a fairy. Faction leader is in luck, haha. An 8-star venerable master glanced at Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian and said to the Sea Shark Gang's leader with a chuckle. The Sea Shark Gang's leader ignored Yi Xing and was completely captivated by Wei Qingxian. He chuckled and said, "Qiu Gang, Nangong Ping, the 2 of you go and kill that kid. Capture this little girl alive." "Yes, faction leader." The 2 8-star venerable masters shouted in unison. Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian exchanged a glance and smiled. There was no panic in their eyes. The 8-star venerable master named Xiao Gang charged toward Yixing and yelled, "Kid, you're a 7-star venerable master at such a young age. You must be a young genius from a high-rank empire. Hee hee. I love killing geniuses like you." Yixing smiled and a pair of supreme-grade spiritual weapon gloves appeared on his hands. He had obtained them from Yixing Kong. The weapon he used to attack Qiu Gang was a supreme-grade spiritual weapon saber. He did not use Star Gang when he faced Yixing. Instead, the saber aura expanded and split the air in half. In an instant, it was right in front of Yixing. Yixing was not interested in fighting with pirates for a long time. He only wanted to kill them. Whoosh! Yixing instantly used the fire astrology and unleashed his full strength. He performed the Flame Gang Fist and punched out. Tiger Roar and Dragon Roar. The saber aura was shattered by Yixing's punch. However, Yixing's punch did not slow down and landed on Qiu Gang's chest. Bang! Qiu Gang's body was torn into pieces. Blood splattered across the sky. He had been killed by Yixing's punch. On the other side, 8-star Venerable Master Nangong Ping was also fighting with Wei Qingxian. Nangong Ping was much more cautious than Qiu Gang. He used his astrology as soon as he attacked. Nangong Ping's sword was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he had slashed out countless times. His sword aura was like a stream of light that attacked Wei Qingxian from different directions. Fluttering snow palm. Wei Qingxian struck out with her palm. Snow and cold wind blew in all directions. The seawater below was instantly frozen and spread in all directions. The sword aura that was as fast as a stream of light was frozen by the extreme cold and slowed down greatly. Wei Qingxian danced in the snow. She moved and dodged all the sword aura attacks. Nangong Ping was shocked. He was about to use a more powerful ultimate move when the sound of Qiu Gang being killed by Yixing shocked him. He glanced at Qiu Gang's miserable state and was scared out of his wits. At this moment, an icicle on the frozen surface of the sea suddenly enlarged and shot toward the sky like a sharp sword. At the same time, Wei Qingxian struck with her palms. Icy palm prints whistled toward Nangong Ping. Nangong Ping was shocked. He swung his sword twice to block the two icy palm prints. However, he did not notice the icicle that suddenly shot up from below. A shrill scream rang in the air. The icicle pierced between Nangong Ping's legs and came out from the top of his head. He was killed instantly as well. Chapter 537. In the blink of an eye, 2 8-star venerables had died at the hands of Yixing and Wei Qingxian. The warriors of the Sea Shark Gang gawked and dropped their jaws in fright. They could accept the fact that a young genius from a high-rank empire had the strength to challenge someone of a higher rank, but killing an 8-star venerables in 1 or 2 moves was unbelievable. If it weren't for the gang leader, the 9-star venerables, the pirates would have fled long ago. Even Sea Shark Gang's gang leader couldn't help but sigh inwardly. There were millions of young martial practitioners, and there were plenty of geniuses among them. Geniuses who could kill someone of a higher rank were extremely rare. However, he had encountered 2 of them at the same time. Moreover, they had managed to kill someone of a higher rank in 1 or 2 moves. Sea Shark Gang's gang leader naturally had some ability to become the leader of a group of pirates and survive in the sea between East Ruins Island and the ancient ruins. If he had to face either Yixing or Wei Qingxian, he wouldn't be afraid with his cultivation at the 9th level of the astral realm. However, it would be a little troublesome to face both of them at the same time. He wasn't confident. "Boss, what should we do?" A 7-star venerable shouted, his voice trembling slightly. Sea Shark Gang's rationality told him to turn and run, but as the leader of the pirates, he wouldn't be able to maintain his dignity if he was scared out of his wits. Suppressing the thought of turning and running, Sea Shark Gang glared at Yixing and shouted, "Kid, you're only a 7-star venerables. Brat, you're only at the 7th stage of the astral star realm, but you have the strength to kill an 8-star venerable master. It seems like you're a reputable person. Do you dare to fight me one-on-one?" Sea Shark Gang was wary of Yixing and Wei Qingxian teaming up, but he was still confident in a one-on-one fight. As for the Sea Shark Gang members, Sea Shark Gang didn't take their strength into account at all. They might be able to deal with an ordinary 7-star venerables, but they were useless against an expert who could kill an 8-star venerables. One-on-one. Yixing smiled faintly and flew forward. The dragon blood spear appeared in his hand and he said, "It's enough to kill you. Bring it on." Wei Qingxian believed in Yixing's strength. She retracted her astral avatar and stood quietly in the void. She had no intention of making a move. Seeing this, gang leader Sea Sharks harumphed coldly and barked, "Shameless boasting. Your daddy here isn't called gang leader Sea Sharks for nothing." Whoosh! Gang leader Sea Shark immediately used his astrology and a supreme-grade spiritual weapon appeared in his hand. His power burst to the limit as he slashed down at Yixing. Yixing lightly snorted, the dragon blood spear in his hand piercing towards the astral saber. In the blink of an eye, Yixing thrusted out countless spears. Each spear was as fast as lightning, shooting into the sky like a stream of light. Superb spiritual martial art, Wind Shadow Spear Technique. This was a spear art that pursued extreme speed. Yixing's Wind Shadow Spear art was only half a step away from perfection. The speed of the spear was so fast that it was shocking. That terrifying astral saber was instantly shattered by Yixing. The tip of the spear flashed with countless cold light as it pierced towards gang leader Sea Shark's body. Although Yixing only had one spear in his hand, in gang leader Sea Shark's eyes, there were countless spear shadows. He was shocked and quickly retreated while brandishing his saber to block. He couldn't even see Yixing's spear speed clearly. How could gang leader Sea Shark not understand that his strength was far inferior to Yixing's? Ding 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 ding, crisp sounds rang out continuously. In the blink of an eye, dozens of explosions rang out. Puff! An arrow of blood shot out, accompanied by a miserable cry. Gang leader Sea Shark's body flew back, a large hole pierced through his throat. Yixing's spear speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, gang leader Sea Shark had blocked dozens of spears. However, he was still a little slow. Yixing's spear pierced through his throat and he died. Blood spurted out from gang leader Sea Shark's throat as his body fell into the sea. Seeing this, the gang leader Sea Shark's martial artist screamed and fled in terror. It's not easy to cultivate to the sage realm. Yet, you chose to become a pirate. You're committing a crime. Die! Yixing's voice was cold. He didn't intend to let these pirates go and chased after them. Even if the 9-star and 8-star venerables of Sea Shark were dead and they couldn't survive in this sea region, with their strength, if they returned to the East Divine Continent and continued to be pirates, it would be a disaster for any lower region. It was fine if he didn't encounter such people. However, now that he encountered them, Yixing wouldn't be merciful. Yixing's speed was incredibly fast. With a flash of his spear, 2 7-star venerables were killed and fell into the sea. The rest of the pirates begged for mercy while fleeing in different directions. Yixing chased after them in one direction, while Wei Qingxian chased after them in the other. Not long after, all the pirates were killed by Yixing and Wei Qingxian. Apart from a few members of Sea Shark Gang, the rest had died in the battle. The Sea Shark Gang only existed in name. This sea region was the Sea Shark Gang's territory. Since the Sea Shark Gang was eliminated, the rest of the journey was unhindered. An hour later, the two arrived at the ancient ruins. Compared to other islands, the ancient ruins was like a piece of land that stretched as far as the eye could see. Some supremacies had once measured the area of the ancient ruins along the sea region surrounding it. It was said that it was close to 1,000,000 kilometers in length and width. With such a vast area and the inability to fly in the ancient ruins, no warrior had ever explored the entire ancient ruins. They only knew that it was a ruin left behind from the ancient era. The buildings inside were from the ancient era. The fey beasts inside were from the ancient era. There were also ancient era array formations and restrictions. Yixing and Wei Qingxian landed on a beach in the ancient ruins and walked forward. They could no longer fly here. There were no footprints on the beach. Clearly, no one had entered from here. Although there were many warriors who entered the ancient ruins in search of the Aeon Extreme Flower, the ancient ruins were truly vast. It spanned 1,000,000 li and the coastline was millions of li long. Very few teams entered from the same spot. Furthermore, no matter how many warriors entered the ancient ruins, it was like throwing a stone into the sea. They wouldn't be able to stir up any waves. Not long after entering the ancient ruins, Yixing acutely sensed that the surrounding void was slightly different from the outside. It was as if the entire space was enveloped by a force field. However, Yixing could only sense it. He couldn't sense the strength of the force field or the actual nature of the mission. This should be the ancient era array formation that stopped martial highnesses and kings. This array formation was too advanced. Yixing could only sense it, but he couldn't tell what it was exactly. Martial highnesses and kings communicated with the universe and had their own force fields. Once they entered the ancient ruins, they would activate the array formation. Or, if a half-step martial highness used the power of the universe in the ancient ruins, they would also activate the array formation. Once a half-step martial highness made a move, they would instinctively channel the power of the stars. Therefore, even though half-step martial highnesses could enter the ancient ruins, no half-step martial highnesses entered. My headache is acting up today. I'm also a little dizzy from looking at the computer. I can only update twice. I'll make up for the 4th update tomorrow. I'll add more monthly updates the day after tomorrow. It's Monday today. Please give me a recommendation ticket. Chapter 538. The deeper they ventured into the ancient ruins, the darker the sky became. Everywhere they looked was dilapidated and desolate. The mountains were broken, and the ground was riddled with ravines. If there were any buildings, they were even more dilapidated. This made one wonder if the ancient ruins had been a battlefield in ancient times, and if there had been an earth-shattering battle. However, if it had been a battlefield, it shouldn't have been too big. But the ancient ruins were over 1,000,000 li in radius, and it was said that such a situation was everywhere. If it had been a battlefield, then the area was a little too vast. The star continent has existed for who knows how long. Even the kings only have a lifespan of 1,000 years. Who knows how long the past has been lost in the long river of time. Yixing muttered. Even the civilization on Earth had been around for thousands of years, and the star continent was many times larger than Earth. It had existed for countless years, and its civilization must have been much longer. Time is a cultivator's greatest enemy. Even if a true god can live for tens of thousands of years, once their lifespan is up, they will still die. Wei Qingxian sighed. Yixing was surprised that Wei Qingxian also knew about true gods. However, when he thought about how close Wei Qingxian was to Dark Star Sect's Queen Lanqin, Yixing felt relieved. The two of them walked in the ancient ruins, crossing over broken mountain peaks and shattered lands. Occasionally, they would encounter ancient demonic beasts. Since the two of them were powerful, they were able to kill them. Since venerables and kings couldn't enter the ancient ruins, level 4 and level 5 demonic beasts naturally couldn't survive. As for level 3 demonic beasts, no matter how strong they were, Yixing and Wei Qingxian could handle them. In the blink of an eye, several days had passed since the two entered the ancient ruins. The Yian Extreme Flower was indeed rare. After several days, the two still couldn't find a single Yian Extreme Flower. Moreover, the ancient ruins were in ruins. Even if there were ancient buildings, they were in ruins. The two didn't find any treasures either. Over the past few days, he had encountered quite a number of ancient demonic beasts. If it wasn't for the Eternity Flower, it wouldn't have been worth entering the ancient ruins. On the 6th day, Yixing and Wei Qingxian ran into big trouble. They were trapped in the valley by a pack of demon wolves. Ancient demonic beast, Howling Moon Demon Wolf. This pack of Howling Moon Demon Wolves were all adults. Some were mid-rank 3 demonic beasts, some were high-rank 3 demonic beasts. There was not a single early rank 3 demonic beast. The most powerful Wolf King had a cultivation level equivalent to a 9-star venerable. However, ancient demonic beasts were powerful and could fight above their level. The Howling Moon Wolf King's strength was comparable to a half-venerable. Apart from the Howling Moon Wolf King, there were also more than 100 Howling Moon Wolves that were equivalent to 7-star venerables and 8-star venerables. Hundreds of Howling Moon demonic wolves were scattered around the valley, surrounding Yixing and Wei Qingxian. The situation was extremely dangerous. Yixing took out his supreme-grade spiritual weapon, the Dragon Blood Spear, while Wei Qingxian also took out her supreme-grade spiritual weapon, the Icicle Sword, which emitted a chilling aura. From what Yixing had seen, Wei Qingxian had always been using the fluttering snow palm to fight. This was the first time she had taken out her sword. It was obvious that her sword techniques were more powerful than her palm techniques. Both of them knew that the situation was dangerous. While taking out their supreme-grade spiritual weapons, they also used their astrology. The fire astrology and ice astrology hung high in the sky. Ice and fire reflected each other's brilliance. Both of them looked at each other and saw the seriousness and excitement in each other's eyes. That's right, it was excitement. When the two of them worked together, the ancient demonic beasts they encountered in the ancient ruins were no match for them. Although it was dangerous this time, they could still have a good battle. This was a true battle of life and death. It was even more intense and exciting than the battle in the Dark Astral Pagoda. Whoa! On the peak of a nearby mountain, the Howling Moon Wolf King howled and gave the order to attack. Whoosh 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 whoosh, from all directions, Howling Moon Wolves charged over one after another. Their movements were like the wind, and their speed was extremely fast. Yixing and Wei Qingxian moved at the same time. Wind Shadow Spear Art. Yixing thrust out the Dragon Blood Spear in his hand. Numerous spear shadows shot out like a shooting star. Regardless of whether it was a group attack or a solo attack, the Wind Shadow Spear Art was very useful. When the speed of the spear reached a certain level, the enemy would be killed one by one. Puff 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 puff. As the Dragon Blood Spear thrust and retracted, more than 10 Howling Moon Wolves fell to the ground like dumplings. Their throats were pierced with a large hole. Ice Congealing Sword Art. Fluttering Snow Palm. Wei Qingxian was multitasking. She held the icicle sword in her right hand and executed the Ice Congealing Sword Art. With a swing of the sword, an icy sword beam shot out dozens of feet. The Howling Moon Wolves along the way were all turned into ice sculptures and fell to the ground. With a palm strike from her left hand, snowflakes drifted down. Icy chi spread out in all directions. Within a 100-meter radius, everything was covered in a layer of frost. The cold chi was extremely oppressive. All the Howling Moon Wolves that were within a 100-meter radius of the two stepped into the frost area. They were affected by the cold chi and their speed slowed down. When the two worked together, their coordination was flawless. The Howling Moon Wolves were slowed down, while Yixing's spear was as fast as a shooting star. As one side decreased and the other increased, Yixing's killing power became even more terrifying. Wherever the astral spear passed, the howling moon wolves died even faster. Around Yixing, the howling moon wolves' corpses fell one after another. Every howling moon wolf that fell to the ground had a large hole in their throats. They were all killed by Yixing's spear. However, most of the howling moon wolves that died were mid-rank 3. These howling moon wolves' strength was only equivalent to a 5 or 6-star sage. The strongest among them was only equivalent to a 7-star sage. Naturally, they could not block Yixing's fast spear. However, the high rank 3 howling moon wolf strength was equivalent to an 8 or 9-star sage. If it was a one-on-one battle, Yixing could easily kill a high rank 3 howling moon wolf. However, when there were many of them, Yixing's attacks were scattered and it was difficult to kill one of them. Wei Qingxuan's ice condensation sword was the same. Killing a high rank 3 howling moon wolf was as easy as flipping her hand. The moment the astral sword touched it, it would die and turn it into an ice sculpture. However, the high rank 3 howling moon wolves were only covered in a layer of frost and did not die. With a shake of their bodies, they shook off the frost. Bang bang bang, as some of the howling moon wolves died, a series of crisp sounds could be heard. Yixing could clearly feel the rebounding force from the spear tip. This was the collision between the high rank 3 howling moon wolves and the dragon blood spear. The howling moon wolves that were equivalent to an 8-star sage were still fine. After being affected by Wei Qingxuan's ice-cold qi, their speed was reduced and Yixing could still kill a few of them. However, the howling moon wolves that were equivalent to a 9-star sage were not affected by the ice-cold qi. Yixing's attacks were scattered and could not threaten them. Awo the howling moon wolf king howled and more high rank 3 howling moon wolves charged forward. The pressure on Yixing and Wei Qingxian instantly multiplied. So a ray of starlight shot into the sky and the surroundings suddenly turned dark. Yixing had used the black hole astrology. Requesting recommendation votes. Chapter 539. In front of Wei Qingxian, Yixing did not consider revealing his trump card. Moreover, there were too many high rank 3 howling moon demon wolves surrounding them, the two of them could not fend them off. Yixing had no choice but to use his trump card. A huge black hole vortex was floating in the air, pushing the two extreme grade astrology, the flame astrology and the ice astrology, aside. Wei Qingxian did not have Yixing's attacking gaze and was not enveloped by the darkness. However, the surrounding howling moon wolves had all fallen into a world of darkness. Whoosh 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 whoosh, Yixing displayed his wind shadow spear art. His spear was as fast as a stream of light as it pierced in different directions. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding howling moon wolves fell like rain. Tens of them were pierced by Yixing's spear and fell to the ground, dead. Many of them were high rank 3 howling moon demon wolves. In the world of darkness, Yixing's senses were more than 10 times sharper. He could clearly see all the changes around him. No matter how many howling moon demon wolves attacked at the same time, Yixing was clear about their attack trajectories and where their vital points were. As for the howling moon demon wolf, it had sunk into a world of darkness and lost track of Yixing. At this moment, Yixing only needed to thrust out his spear. His spear art was fast and powerful, and the howling moon demon wolf would react according to the sound of the spear being thrust out. There was no way it could dodge or block in time. Naturally, it would be pierced by the spear and die. Wei Qingxuan's damage had also increased significantly. She wasn't affected by the black hole astrology. Although her senses weren't enhanced like Yixing's in the world of darkness, the howling moon wolves around her were blinded. Their reaction speed had decreased, and the number of wolves that died under Wei Qingxuan's sword naturally increased. Wei Qingxian glanced at the black hole astrology in the sky. She seemed to be deep in thought as she looked at the howling moon wolves around her, whose reactions had slowed down. Kill! Yixing shouted loudly. Taking advantage of the howling moon demon wolf's shock due to the darkness, he executed the wind shadow spear art faster and faster, continuously killing. If this continued, even if most of the remaining howling moon demon wolves were high-tier rank 3 demonic beasts with strength equivalent to 8 or 9-star venerables, they would not be able to withstand Yixing's massacre. Roar! The howling moon wolf king let out a long howl. This time, his howl was filled with rage. He charged down from the peak of the mountain and personally attacked Yixing. The howling moon wolf king's eyes shone with 2 dim lights. These 2 dim lights gave him the ability to see in the dark. The howling moon demon wolf originally possessed the ability to see in the dark. However, the dark world created by the black hole astrology was much darker than the night, causing the howling moon demon wolf to lose its vision. However, the howling moon wolf king's eyesight was much stronger than an ordinary howling moon demon wolf. Even under the black hole astrology, he could still see Yixing clearly. One by one, Yixing killed the howling moon demon wolves. Yixing was in the mood to kill, but suddenly, his hair stood on end as he felt a sense of danger. Yixing was aware of everything that was happening around him. Naturally, he knew that the howling moon wolf king was coming for him. Hence, he focused his attention on the howling moon wolf king. Boom! When the howling moon wolf king was about 100 meters away from Yixing, it suddenly opened its mouth. A beam of moonlight shot out from the howling moon wolf king's mouth. The moonlight beam was like a sword aura that instantly shot towards Yixing. It was equivalent to an attack from a half-step to honorable realm. It was extremely terrifying. Afterimage footwork. Yixing's body split up in an instant, leaving many afterimages. Under the black hole astrology, the afterimage footwork was even faster, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. With the afterimage footwork at the perfection stage and the integration of heaven and man's wind momentum, Yixing's speed was not inferior to an ordinary supremacy's. Naturally, he dodged the howling moon wolf king's attack. Whoosh! Some of the afterimages were hit by the howling moon demon wolves or the wolf king and turned into nothingness. Some of the afterimages merged together and Yixing's figure appeared. He stabbed his spear towards the howling moon wolf king. The howling moon wolf king's reaction was extremely fast. It instantly locked onto Yixing's figure and opened its mouth to spit out another beam of light. Yixing did not dare to fight it head-on. He used the afterimage footwork and withdrew his spear to dodge. The spear aura that he stabbed out was shattered by the beam of light. While moving, Yixing did not forget to attack and kill the howling moon demon wolves beside him. He was fast and his spear was even faster. Other than the howling moon wolf king, the rest of the howling moon demon wolves could not fight back against Yixing's spear. Even the howling moon demon wolves that were as strong as venerable 9 stars were no exception. In the world of darkness, they could not dodge Yixing's spear aura. The howling moon wolf king roared angrily. It leaped forward and charged towards Yixing. Its speed was at its maximum. Its wolf claws tore through mountains and cracked rocks as it chased after Yixing. Yixing fought and retreated at the same time. He was constantly moving quickly. The speed of the afterimage footwork was at its maximum. His hands were also constantly using the wind shadow spear technique. In an instant, the entire valley was filled with the shadows of Yixing's spear. His figure. As for Wei Qingxian, she had already retreated out of the valley. Yixing and the howling moon wolf king's attacks were too fast. She could not interfere at all. Awoo! The howling moon wolf king roared angrily. At that moment, it was the only one left among the hundreds of howling moon demon wolves. Its voice was filled with grief and anger. It would not rest until it killed Yixing. Although the valley was filled with Yixing's figure and spear aura, the Howling Moon Wolf King still had the upper hand. The Howling Moon Wolf King was very strong. It had been taking the initiative to chase after the Howling Moon Wolf King. On the other hand, Yixing was constantly dodging and finding the time to counterattack. It's still too slow. The speed of the spear needs to be faster. As long as it reaches a certain level, I will definitely be able to kill the Howling Moon Wolf King before it can react. Yixing thought to himself. The Wind Shadow Spear technique was executed faster and faster in his hands. His understanding of the Wind Shadow Spear technique was getting deeper and deeper. The Wind Shadow Spear technique was only one step away from the Great Circle Realm. Now that Yixing was engaged in an intense battle of life and death, this last step was getting closer and closer. Faster! Yixing shouted in his heart. Finally, after countless spear strikes, Yixing had finally crossed the last bit of distance. Yixing's Wind Shadow Spear technique had a qualitative breakthrough and reached the Great Circle Realm. The Great Circle Realm represented that a martial art had been cultivated to its peak. For ordinary warriors, no matter how long they cultivated, they would only be able to reach this realm. Above that was the extremely mysterious transformative realm. Only martial artists with exceedingly high perception could possibly reach this realm. Whoosh! After reaching the Great Circle Realm, the speed of the Wind Shadow Spear technique suddenly increased by a level. In the blink of an eye, Yixing had stabbed nearly 100 times with his spear. Ding 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 ding, crisp sounds rang out continuously. Yixing's spear stabbed at the same spot every time. Even though the Howling Moon Wolf King had the strength of a half-step martial saint, it was unable to block the continuous stabs of over 100 spear strikes at the same time. After blocking over 70 spears, the Howling Moon Wolf King's defense was finally torn apart by the dragon tip. The following 10 spears all stabbed into the Howling Moon Wolf King's body. A large hole appeared in its chest and its heart was pierced. The Howling Moon Wolf King died. Chapter 540. After killing the Howling Moon Wolf King, Yixing retracted his astrology and panted heavily. The battle had taken a toll on him, especially the battle with the Howling Moon Wolf King, which had consumed a great amount of his energy. If not for the fact that his Wind Shadow Spear art had reached the perfect realm, Yixing would have had no choice but to flee. The battle with the Howling Moon Wolves in the Dark Astral Pagoda was different. In the end, the Dark Astral Pagoda was an illusion array. Yixing knew that he would not die inside. Even if he fought with all his might, the thought that he would not die was already there and could not be changed. In the battle with the Howling Moon Wolves, Yixing did not think that he would not die. He only thought that if he lost, he would be eaten clean by the Howling Moon Wolves. This thought drove him to fight with all his might and to perform better than usual, stimulating his potential. Comparing the two, the battle with the Howling Moon Wolves had clearly benefited him more. Moreover, it had greatly sharpened his will and raised his mental strength. Yixing. Wei Qingxian came to Yixing's side and said in surprise, "You actually killed the Howling Moon Wolf King. I thought we would have to run. My ice condensation sword art is also at the perfect realm, but my strength is far from the Howling Moon Wolf King's." They had the same cultivation and martial arts attainments, but Wei Qingxuan's strength was not as good as Yixing's. She knew her own limits. Yixing's senses were enhanced by more than 10 times under the black hole astrology. He could clearly sense his surroundings. This was an advantage that Wei Qingxian did not have. Therefore, Yixing could kill enemies who were much stronger than him under the black hole astrology, but Wei Qingxian could not. Yixing sat down on the ground and said, "I also borrowed the power of the astrology. Otherwise, our true strength should be about the same. I've comprehended something in the battle earlier, and I'll need some time to digest it. Can you stand guard for me?" Wei Qingxian nodded, "Okay." Yixing's comprehension was naturally the comprehension of heart force. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to break through to the 6th level of heart force. The 5th level of heart power was already beyond the astral reaching realm, and could be compared to the most ordinary reverends. The 6th level of heart power was a level that was hard to reach even among the reverends. If his heart power broke through to the 6th layer, not only would his cultivation of martial arts become easier, but his attainments in archery would increase as well. He would be able to reach the heart's 6 transformations, which would be beyond the astral reaching realm. If Yixing could cultivate a top-grade spirit-level archery skill to perfection, how powerful would his arrows be when combined with his attainments in archery with the heart's 6 transformations? Yixing was certain that even a venerable one would have to retreat under such arrows, as their lives would be in danger. The battle just now had greatly increased Yixing's mental power. After 2 hours, Yixing had completely grasped this comprehension, and his heart force broke through to the 6th level. With such a high comprehension of heart force, coupled with Yixing's heaven-defying perception, it wouldn't be hard for him to cultivate a top-grade spirit-level martial art to the perfection realm. The Howling Moon Wolf Pack was the most dangerous demonic beast in the ancient ruins. Facing such a pack, even a team of 10 9-star venerables would lose their lives. Yixing and Wei Qingxian had even exterminated the Howling Moon Wolf Pack. In the ancient ruins, there were basically no ancient demonic beasts that could threaten them. However, the Eternity Flower was truly hard to find. Yixing and Wei Qingxian had killed quite a few ancient demonic beasts, but after 10 days, they still hadn't found a single Eternity Flower. Since the Eternity Flower was so hard to find, it was no wonder that it was so valuable. The Eternity Flower's attribute is extreme yin, but it also contains a bit of extreme yang. Ordinary yin lands lack yang qi. Only extreme yin lands are accompanied by extreme yang, where the Eternity Flower can grow. The center of the ancient ruins is a land of extreme yin. When we get there, we'll definitely be able to find the Eternity Flower. Wei Qingxian saw that Yixing was somewhat disappointed and said so. You know quite a bit about the Eternity Flower. Yixing glanced at Wei Qingxian. With me here, we'll definitely be able to find many Eternity Flowers. Wei Qingxuan's expression was filled with confidence. When we get to the center, you'll know. It was impossible to fly in the ancient ruins. Furthermore, the ancient ruins were very large. It would take a month or so to reach the central area. However, luck came at a whim. A few days later, when they were still more than halfway to the center, the two found 2 Eternity Flowers in a valley filled with yin qi. In this valley, there was an ancient monster beast whose strength was comparable to venerable 9 stars, guarding it. Naturally, Yixing and Li Qingxian killed it without much effort. I thought that we would only be able to find the Eternity Flower in the center, but I didn't expect to find 2 already. It seems that our luck is not bad. Wei Qingxian smiled and picked the 2 Eternity Flowers, giving one to Yixing. This is not a land of extreme yin, but there is a yin gathering spring in the valley. This spring is equivalent to a land of extreme yin. No wonder there are Eternity Flowers here. Yixing said. In the Heavenly Corpse mountain range, he had also seen the yin gathering spring. Moreover, there were 2 springs. One was the burial ground of Venerable Red Flame and his son. However, the corpse qi in the Heavenly Corpse mountain range was too heavy, so there were no Eternity Flowers growing there. The 2 put the Eternity Flowers into their storage rings and were about to leave when a voice suddenly came from outside the valley. It's another Eternity Flower growing point. Every time an Eternity Flower blooms, 2 Eternity Flowers will grow here. In other places, there is only 1 Eternity Flower growing here, but here there are 2. This is truly a treasure trove. Inside the valley, Yixing and Wei Qingxian glanced at each other. They had been in the ancient ruins for half a month and had not encountered a single person. They had not expected that just after harvesting 2 Eternity Flowers today, they would encounter other cultivators. Listening to their conversation, it seemed that they had a map of the ancient ruins and knew where the eternity flowers were growing, and there was more than one. These people had come for the eternity flowers in the valley, but the two eternity flowers had fallen into the hands of Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian. If they ran into them, it would obviously cause trouble. As soon as the two's eyes met, they immediately turned around. Instead of heading towards the valley entrance, they directly crossed the mountain ridge behind to avoid the approaching cultivators. "Who is it?" Before the two of them had even crossed the mountain ridge, a martial artist shouted from the mouth of the valley, discovering the two of them. Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian did not know. After crossing the mountain ridge, another voice came from behind them. "There are no eternity flowers in the valley. Those two stole them. Chase after them." There were more than two cultivators. They immediately crossed the mountain ridge and chased after Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian. Flying was not allowed in the ancient ruins, greatly limiting one's speed. Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian could not shake off the cultivators behind them, so they simply stopped. The two of them wanted to avoid trouble, not because they were afraid of them. Add the first update on the 4th. Chapter 541. Venerables, kings, and half-step venerables could not enter the ancient ruins, so Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian were not afraid of any team. If they used their trump cards, they could even wipe out 99% of the teams in the ancient ruins. There were a total of 5 martial artists chasing after them. 2 were 9-star venerables, 1 was 8-star venerables, and 2 were 7-star venerables. This team was very strong, but they were not a threat to Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian. Since they could not get rid of the trouble, why should they continue running? They stopped and waited for the martial artists behind them to catch up. "Leave the stolen Ian Extreme Flower behind," someone shouted while the 5 people were still far away. "Stole?" Yi Xing snorted. The Ian Extreme Flower in the ancient ruins grew on its own and was not cultivated by any faction. It belonged to whoever picked it, but the martial artists chasing after them said that they had stolen the Ian Extreme Flower. How could taking something without an owner be considered stealing? Soon, the 5 people caught up. Apart from the 2 9-star venerables who looked older, the 8-star venerables and the 2 7-star venerables were very young, about 16 or 17 years old. Of course, their age did not represent their true age. It was impossible for them to be 7-star venerables or 8-star venerables at 16 or 17 years old. The one who spoke first was 7-star venerables. He stretched out his hand to Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian and said, "Hand over the stolen Ian Extreme Flower and get lost." The young 8-star venerable stood in the middle of the 5 people. He was clearly the leader of the team. He was not in the mood to talk to Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian, but his eyes lit up when he looked at Wei Qingxian. The 8-star venerable said, "Han Ming, who gave you the authority to make such a promise?" "I, Han Cheng, am here. Do you think it's up to you to decide what to do with them?" The 7-star venerables called Han Ming saw Han Cheng's expression and knew why he said that. Clearly, Han Cheng had taken a fancy to the woman in front of him. However, this woman was truly beautiful. He, Han Ming, had seen all kinds of beauties in the Eastern Han Empire, but none of them could compare to this woman in front of him. "Yes, yes, yes. Young Master Cheng, Han Ming is muddle-headed. How they deal with him, of course we will listen to young Master Cheng." Han Ming immediately lowered his head and said. Although he was also one of the top figures in the Eastern Han Empire, he was far from being comparable to Han Cheng. The corners of Han Cheng's mouth curled up into a smile, and he said, "Hand over the Eternity Flower. Men can scram, women can stay." Wei Qingxuan's face was covered with a layer of frost, and the surrounding air suddenly became cold. Yi Xing's expression was calm as he looked at the 5 opponents. Finally, his gaze fell on Han Xing. The corners of his mouth curled up, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. These people treated him and Wei Qingxian as fish on the chopping block. They were simply courting death. Yi Xing said indifferently, "Why don't you all take a piss and look at yourselves in the mirror? What kind of trash are you? Stop being an eyesore here and quickly scram. Otherwise, if this young master gets angry, all of you will have to crawl away." What kind of words were spoken to the kind of person? Being arrogant in front of Yi Xing. Yi Xing would only be more arrogant. Yi Xing's words enraged the five. Han Xing sneered and said, "East Divine Continent bumpkins, do you really think you are someone? Ha ha. Han Ming, go teach him what it means to be high and mighty." Yi Xing and Wei Qingxuan's eyes flashed with surprise. From the tone of these people, they seemed to be from the Middle Sky Continent. If they were from the other three continents, they would not call East Divine Continent martial artists bumpkins. To be able to come to the ancient ruins from the Middle Sky Continent, they definitely had an extraordinary background. The Middle Sky Continent, surnamed Han. Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian immediately thought of a two-star force. The East Han Empire. One of the 12 empires of the Middle Sky Continent, a direct subordinate of the Great Yuan dynasty. As a high-grade empire, the East Han Empire was much stronger than the three high-grade empires of the East Divine Continent. The strongest of the three high-grade empires of the East Divine Continent were 8-star supremes. The strongest of the 12 empires of the Middle Sky Continent were half-step kings. Although they were all high-grade empires, their strength was not on the same level. If these five were experts of the East Han Empire, then they had the qualifications to be arrogant. However, this qualification was only relative to ordinary martial artists of the East Divine Continent. In front of Yi Xing and Wei Qingxian, it was not enough. 7-star Venerable Han Ming heard Han Xing's order and walked forward, chuckling. "Country bumpkin, do you want me to break your arms or your legs? Or, I'll give you 10 slaps first, then break your arms and legs. Ha ha, this way, you won't have to choose." As a junior genius of the Middle Sky Continent, Han Ming was very confident in his own strength. He didn't even put the East Divine Continent's 8-star Venerable in his eyes, let alone Yi Xing, who was only a 7-star Venerable. Yi Xing twisted his neck, producing a series of cracking sounds. Then, he twisted his shoulders, clenched his fists, and walked forward. Yi Xing didn't need to say anything. The ominous glint in his eyes said it all. This brat called Han Ming had successfully provoked his anger. If Yi Xing was angry, the consequences would be severe. Han Ming clearly didn't put Yi Xing in his eyes. He laughed, "Io, your bones are cracking like fried beans. This young master will break all your bones later. Let's see if you can still crack them, ha ha." As he spoke, Han Ming's aura exploded. His figure flashed and disappeared. It had to be said that Han Ming's speed was very fast. Even the East Divine Continent's 8-star Venerable might not have such speed. In an instant, Han Ming appeared in front of Yi Xing and slapped him across the face. This slap caused the void to explode. Even the airflow was blown apart. One could see how fast it was. Facing Venerable 7-star, who was in the same realm as him, Qian Ming did not use any martial arts. He wanted to use his speed to send Yi Xing flying with a slap. It was clear how confident he was in his speed. Slap. At the same time as the void exploded, a crisp slap sounded. Qian Ming flew to the side. Yi Xing shook his hand and said, "It feels good, but it's too weak. One slap and you're sent flying. Boring." The other 7-star Venerable from the Eastern Han Empire was dumbfounded. What was going on? Wasn't Han Ming the one who slapped him? Why was Han Ming the one who was sent flying? The 8-star Venerable Han Xing and the 2 9-star Venerables saw it clearly. When Han Ming slapped Qian Ming's face, Qian Ming's palm followed. However, Qian Ming's speed was faster than Han Ming's. Before Han Ming's palm could land on Qian Ming's face, Qian Ming had already sent him flying. Han Xing's eyes shone. He hadn't expected this country bumpkin from the East Divine Continent to have such strength. Just based on Yixing's speed, Han Xing was sure that Yixing's strength wasn't inferior to an 8-star Venerable. At least, he was much stronger than Qian Ming. Add the second update on the 4th. Looking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Chapter 542. Clap, 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 clap. Han Xing clapped his hands and walked forward. From the looks of it, the fact that Yixing had sent Han Ming flying with a slap was nothing in Han Chang's eyes. Han Sheng was one of the top geniuses of the younger generation in the East Han Empire. It was easy for him to challenge those above his level. Even the venerable 9-star of the East Divine Continent was nothing to him. Although Yixing's performance surprised him, it was not enough to make him look at him in a new light. Han Xing clapped his hands and said, "Good, good, good. It seems that you are not a nobody in the East Divine Continent. I underestimated you when I asked Han Ming to deal with you. Now, I will personally break your bones." Yixing sneered and looked at Han Ming, who was crawling to his feet. He said, "You are just like him. Don't be a pot calling the kettle black. Shame on you." Whoosh, a terrifying aura exploded from Han Xing's body. Han Xing was furious. What kind of character was he? How could he be compared to Han Ming? Not only that, Yixing actually dared to call him a clay chicken and pottery dog. This deeply provoked Han Chang's nerves. Arrogant. I will let you know the consequences of angering me. Han Xing shouted, and a supreme spiritual spear appeared in his hand. He glared angrily. Die! Whoosh! With a thrust, the spear shot out like a cold star piercing through the sky. Supreme spiritual martial art, cold star spear technique. The spear was extremely fast and powerful. Even if Han Xing did not use his astrology, this spear was not something that the venerable 8-star could block. In Han Xing's view, he did not need to use his astrology to deal with Yixing. His cold star spear technique had reached the realm of greater mastery. It was enough to deal with Yixing. Afterimage footwork. Yixing's silhouette split into multiple afterimages, and Han Xing's attack missed. Not far away, the afterimages gathered and Yixing appeared. He said disdainfully, "You dare to pretend with such skill? Kill!" Han Xing was furious. He shouted and attacked again, this time toward Yixing. This time, the spear was even more powerful. "Take my spear too." This time, Yixing didn't dodge. The dragon blood spear appeared in his hand and pierced forward. As he thrust out his spear, dozens of spear shadows appeared. Spear auras shot out like flowing lights, overlapping one another as they pierced towards Han Xing. The hair on Han Xing's body stood on end. His expression was one of shock as he felt a sense of fatal danger. Yixing's strength was much more terrifying than he had imagined. Han Xing didn't dare to face the attack head-on. He quickly retracted his spear and retreated. A beam of starlight shot out from between his eyebrows. He had used his astrology, which was an extreme water element astrology. With the support of the power of the stars, Han Xing's strength skyrocketed. He thrust out his spear, turning it into an astral spear, blocking Yixing's astral spear. Even so, Han Xing still felt a little strained. He was incomparably shocked. His opponent hadn't even used his astrology, but his strength had actually reached such a level. What if he used astrology? Han Xing could only hope that Yi Xing's astrology was only a high-grade one. That way, he could use his extreme astrology to suppress him. In the end, his chances of victory would still be higher. He, Han Xing, was one of the top geniuses of the Eastern Han Empire. If he lost to a country bumpkin from the East Divine Continent, what face would he have left? Han Xing's full strength was stronger than the average 9-star venerable. Although Yi Xing's wind shadow spear art was fast, it still couldn't break through Han Xing's defense. Immediately, Yi Xing also used his astrology. Starlight soared into the sky, turning into a flaming star. It was an extreme astrology. Take my spear again. Yi Xing shouted, and the dragon blood spear pierced out again. With the support of the flaming star, Yi Xing's spear speed didn't change, but its power skyrocketed. This spear was peerless and terrifying. Han Xing's eyes flashed with fear as he shouted, "Big Han, second Han." At the same time, the two 9-star venerable unleashed their terrifying auras as they shouted, "Don't be presumptuous." Both of them were peak 9-star venerable. Their strength was at the peak of the 9-star venerable level, and they were much stronger than Han Xing. Han Xing's status in the Eastern Han Empire was extraordinary. He was a core member of the royal family. These two peak 9-star venerable were the personal bodyguards of the Eastern Han imperial family. Their duty was to protect Han Xing's safety. As the two shouted, they attacked at the same time, and attacked Yi Xing, more powerful than others. Behind Yi Xing, there was a delicate cry, and an extremely cold aura instantly rushed over. Wei Qingxian used her ice astrology and the supreme-grade spiritual weapon, the icicle sword. She unleashed her full strength and slashed out with her sword. An icy sword aura swept out and attacked the two 9-star venerable. Even the venerable 9 stars were shocked by Wei Qingxuan's all-out attack. They didn't dare to ignore it. The two venerable 9 stars immediately attacked Yi Xing, and their attacks collided with the ice sword force. While the two 9-star venerable were blocked by Wei Qingxian, Yi Xing and Han Xing had already clashed head-on. Yi Xing used the wind shadow spear art with the help of the flaming star. Even a peak 9-star venerable would find it difficult to resist, let alone Han Xing. Even though Yi Xing didn't use his full strength, Han Xing's spear defense was instantly broken by Yi Xing. Puff puff puff. In the blink of an eye, Han Xing was sent flying backward. There were a few bloody holes in his body, and he let out a shrill cry. Young Lord Qing. The two 9-star venerable and the two 7-star venerable exclaimed at the same time. The 7-star venerable, who hadn't made a move, immediately rushed toward Han Xing. The two 9-star venerable shouted, "How dare you hurt the young lord of the Dong Han Empire?" The two 9-star venerable were filled with murderous intent. They both released their astrology and unleashed their full strength. They shouted, "You're courting death." Yi Xing coldly said, "It's precisely because you're from the East Han Empire that I spared his life and gave you some face. Otherwise, that spear would have pierced his vitals and he would already be a dead man." Wei Qingxuan's figure flashed and appeared beside Yi Xing. The two's auras were extremely powerful. In the sky, the flaming star and icy star were side by side. Their auras were no weaker than the two 9-star venerable. Wei Qingxian exuded a cold aura and said, "Get lost now. Don't look for your own death." Shameless boasting. The two 9-star venerable were both at the peak of the 9th stage of the astral star realm. Their combat power was at the peak of the same realm. Even though Yi Xing and Wei Qingxuan's combat power was heaven-defying, the two 9-star venerable didn't think that the two 9-star venerable were a match for them. The two 9-star venerable attacked at the same time. One went for Yi Xing, and the other went for Wei Qingxian. "You're courting death." Yi Xing shouted and unleashed his full strength. He stabbed out with his spear, and in an instant, he stabbed out nearly 100 times. Wei Qingxian used the fluttering snow palm with her left hand and the condensing ice sword with her right hand. The ground around them was covered in a layer of frost. An icy sword aura shot out, and the extreme coldness seemed to be able to freeze the void. The two 9-star venerables' attacks were affected by the coldness and slowed down by half a beat. This delay was fatal to Yixing's fast spear. Puff, puff, the spear flashed like flowing light, and a huge hole appeared on the two 9-star venerables' bodies. They screamed in agony and shot backward. Monthly votes, recommendation votes. Chapter 543. Yixing and Wei Qingxian teamed up, and their combined strength was not as simple as 1 + 1. Honda and Han Air were both top-notch venerable 9 stars, but they could not even withstand one move from Yixing and Wei Qingxian. The two of them fell far away, blood gushing out of their bodies. They were severely injured. And Yixing had shown them mercy. Otherwise, if the tip of the spear had pierced their throats, they would have died. The Donghan Empire was much more powerful than the three upper-rank empires of the East Divine Continent. It was a direct subordinate of the De Yuan dynasty. If he killed them, Yixing was afraid that the Donghan Empire would have a way to find him. At the end of the year, the third genius tryout would be held. Yixing did not want to cause any trouble. He wanted to take this opportunity to explore the extraterritorial star land. Therefore, Yixing did not kill them. Otherwise, he and Wei Qingxian could have killed the Howling Moon Wolves. Killing these 5 people would be a piece of cake. Han Xing and Han Ming, the two venerable 9 stars, were severely injured. Only the venerable 7 stars was not injured. They looked at Yixing and Wei Qingxian with fear. Yixing and Wei Qingxian did not look at them. They turned and left. Wait. Han Xing had already taken a healing elixir to stop the bleeding. He struggled to stand up and said, "Do you dare to leave your names? I will return the humiliation today tenfold." Yixing did not stop. He said, "What? You are not strong enough, so you want to seek revenge from your father and grandfather? Ha! If you are really capable, I will wait for you at the third genius tryout." After Yixing finished speaking, he and Wei Qingxian crossed a mountain and disappeared from the 5 people's sight. Humph! Han Xing angrily slapped the ground with his palm. The astral star palm imprint shook the ground and shattered it. However, this action immediately tore open his wound, triggering the injury. Blood flowed out again, and he couldn't help but release a miserable groan, his face pale. After encountering the 5 cultivators from the Eastern Han Empire, Yixing and Wei Qingxian continued to encounter other teams in the following days. The Ian extreme flower that grew in the periphery of the ancient ruins was extremely rare and could only be found by chance. 99% of the martial practitioners that entered the ancient ruins rushed to the land of extreme Ian at the center of the ancient ruins. Only there would they have a higher chance of obtaining an Ian extreme flower. Therefore, the closer they got to the land of extreme negative energy, the higher the chances of encountering other cultivators. Apart from some unpleasantness with Han Xing's group, they didn't have any conflicts with the other groups. Most of those who had entered the primordial ruins were warriors from the East Divine Continent. Yixing and Wei Qingxian had been rising stars in the genius selection at the end of last year. Most of the warriors from the East Divine Continent knew them. Of course, this was also because other people didn't know that they had the Ian Extreme Flower. Otherwise, there might be some ignorant martial practitioners who would take the risk and kill them to steal their treasures. Along the way, when they encountered other martial practitioners, Yixing and Yun Ruoyan went their separate ways, rejecting all requests to team up with them. If they encountered ancient monster beasts, they would kill them. Later on, they didn't encounter any more beast packs like the Howling Moon Demon Wolves. Yixing and Yun Ruoyan had a smooth journey. Half a month after obtaining the Ian Extreme Flower, Yixing and Yunruoyan finally arrived at the center of the ancient ruins. The land of Extreme Ian was just ahead. The land of Extreme Ian was very different from the other places in the ancient ruins. Firstly, the sky was more than 10 times darker. In the ancient ruins, the sky was a dark yellow and the light was not bright. But in the land of Extreme Ian, the sky was dark. Even with the eyesight of a person, it was difficult to see far. It was like night. In particular, the ground of the land of Extreme Ian was filled with black Yin Qi. Some areas were even filled with surging Yin Qi, blocking one's line of sight. No one could see anything clearly. Moreover, this land of Extreme Ian not only had Yin Qi, but it also exuded an aura that made one's heart palpitate. It seemed very dangerous. The center of the ancient ruins was not small. It was hundreds of thousands of miles wide. Many martial practitioners were scattered throughout the ancient ruins. Yixing and Yunruoyan stood outside the land of Extreme Ian. There were no other martial practitioners nearby. This land of Extreme Ian is a place of great danger. Not only is the Yin Qi rich, but there is also blood Qi and ghost Qi. In ancient times, countless martial practitioners must have died here. Their blood dyed this land red. Yixing looked into the distance and scanned with his super brain. After observing for a long time, he said this. If the land of Extreme Ian was only rich in Yin Qi, then martial practitioners could use the purple sun pill to disperse the Yin Qi in their bodies and stay in the land of Extreme Ian for a long time. However, if there was also blood Qi and ghost Qi, even Venerable 9-Star wouldn't be able to stay in the land of Extreme Ian for a long time. At most, he could stay for a day or two. In this way, any martial practitioner could only explore a small part of the periphery of the land of Extreme Ian. They couldn't set foot in most of the areas. Even the strongest Venerable 9-Star could stay in the land of Extreme Ian for 2 days by relying on his astral stars to block the blood Qi. However, he could only enter and leave in 1 day. In addition to the time spent searching for the Ian Extreme Flower, the furthest he could go was less than a day's walk. No wonder the Ian Extreme Flower is so rare. Even if the land of Extreme Ian is suitable for the growth of the Ian Extreme Flower, there are too few places that martial practitioners can explore. I'm afraid they won't be able to obtain many Ian Extreme Flowers in the land of Extreme Ian. Yixing sighed. The Ian Extreme Flower would be of great use to him when he broke through to the Venerable Realm in the future. He still wanted to obtain more. Looking at the land of Extreme Ian in front of him, Yixing knew that even if he was lucky, he wouldn't be able to obtain many Ian Extreme Flowers. Yixing, others might not be able to obtain many Ian Extreme Flowers, but we are different. As long as we have enough time, it won't be a problem for us to harvest all the Ian Extreme Flowers in the land of Extreme Ian. Wei Qingxian smiled and said. How is that possible? The purple yang pill can dispel the Yin Qi, but the blood Qi and ghost Qi can't be dispelled by pills. We can't go deep into the land of Extreme Ian. Yixing said in surprise. Brother Yixing, you have your secrets, and so do I. I've already seen your supreme astrology. Now, it's time for you to take a look at mine. Wei Qingxian said as she stepped forward and walked into the land of Extreme Ian. Ultimate astrology. Yixing's expression was shocked, and he immediately followed. The two of them used astral energy to protect their bodies, forming an astral shield around them. Above the astral shield, there was a constant sizzling sound. This was the blood Qi corroding the astral shield, forcing a martial artist to constantly circulate astral energy to maintain it. Otherwise, once the astral shield broke, the blood Qi and ghostly ghost Qi would enter their body, turning them into a bloodthirsty madman and then a black-furred zombie. Qingxian also has a supreme astrology. What kind of astrology can allow one to walk freely here? Yixing thought. Other than the dim light, it was no different from the space outside. The yin energy, blood fiend energy, ghostly energy, and other evil energy that filled the void were all purified by the holy light and disappeared without a trace. Moreover, a blood fiend a few miles away was illuminated by the holy light. It let out a mournful cry and emitted green smoke before dissipating. I also have 2-star energy. This is my constellation star energy, Virgo star energy. Wei Qingxian turned around and smiled at Yi Xing. Although the Virgo star energy doesn't have much effect on increasing combat power, it has the effect of purifying all evil energy. As long as I'm around, the evil energy around me will retreat, and I can travel unimpeded in the land of extreme negative energy. Yi Xing stared blankly at Yi Xing. His expression was a little dazed. Wei Qingxian was already a stunning beauty. Now that she was shrouded in the holy light, her body was also emitting holy light. She was like a goddess illuminated by holy light. She was 10 times more stunning. Yi Xing! Yi Xing! Wei Qingxian shouted twice. Yi Xing only reacted when Yi Xing came back to his senses. His face was full of embarrassment. All this time, his super brain was powerful, and he had the black hole star energy between his eyebrows. This allowed him to be very calm no matter what he encountered. This was the first time he was absent-minded. Wei Qingxian blushed and said, "What are you looking at? Are you stupid?" Yi Xing smiled embarrassedly and said, "Qingxian, you don't know how beautiful you are now. No, your temperament now can't be described as beautiful. It's blasphemy to call you a fairy. You're a goddess." What a glib tongue. Wei Qingxian said, a happy smile on her face. Let's go deeper. There are more Ian flowers deeper in, and we won't encounter any other martial artists. Yi Xing gathered his thoughts. His super brain began to operate, his expression calm. Of course, he wouldn't act like a fool again. He nodded and said, "Let's go. My eye technique can see into the distance. This time, I must plunder all the Ian flowers here." A single stalk of eternity flower was worth 5,000 merit points. What about 100 stalks of eternity flowers? Yi Xing was extremely excited. There are also a large number of eternity flowers that have withered without anyone picking them. The journey from the ancient ruins to the land of extreme negative energy took a month. If today was the 1st of September, then the two of them had indeed spent nearly 2 months in the land of extreme negative energy. Yi Xing said, "We've obtained enough eternity flowers. Let's go back." Wei Qingxian nodded. On the way back, the two of them took stock of the Ian extreme flowers. Over the past 2 months, they had harvested the least amount of Ian extreme flowers on a single day, and they had harvested the most amount of Ian extreme flowers on a single day. The total number of eternity flowers harvested was 928. The two of them divided it equally, each obtaining 464 eternity flowers. A single eternity flower was extremely precious. The eternity flowers in their hands were undoubtedly treasures that could not be measured in terms of value. The two of them gained much more than all the teams that entered the ancient ruins. After counting the eternity flowers, the two of them smiled at each other, joy in their eyes. With so many eternity flowers, it was enough for them to become venerables in the future. Because they had searched 1,000 miles horizontally and layer by layer, the distance they advanced each day was not far. Now, the two of them left the land of extreme negative energy on a straight path. It only took them a little more than 3 days to leave the land of extreme negative energy. During this time, the two of them encountered 2 Blackford zombies. When they entered the land of extreme negative energy, there were no Blackford zombies, but when they came out, they encountered them on the periphery. Obviously, some cultivators had died in the land of extreme negative energy and turned into Blackford zombies. Blood fiends would be injured by the holy light, but Blackford zombies would not. However, the cultivators that died in the land of extreme negative energy did not have high cultivation. Even though their strength increased by an entire realm after turning into Blackford zombies, they were still not Yixing's opponent. Yixing killed them without much effort. The time for the eternity flowers to bloom had passed, and all the teams had evacuated. Yixing and Wei Qingxian spent more than 3 days to come out of the land of extreme negative energy. They were already the last group, lagging behind everyone else. One step behind, one step behind. A month later, the two of them arrived at the edge of the ancient ruins, but they did not encounter any other cultivators. When they arrived at the beach of the ancient ruins, the array formation disappeared. The two of them used their top-grade flying spirit artifacts to soar into the sky, flying over the sea and heading east. Those who should have left had already left. The two of them should be the last group. Ha 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 ha. The pirates of the Azure Dragon Island fell onto the ice below like rain. Every martial artist who fell had a bloody hole pierced through their throats. All of them died. In the blink of an eye, several dozen Azure Dragon Island cultivators died. Not only did these pirates fall under Yixing's spear, but many of them were also struck by the cold ice sword aura and turned into ice sculptures, dying on the spot. The speed of death was simply too fast. Although there were a lot of pirates in the Azure Dragon Island, there were only a little over 100 of them. In the blink of an eye, nearly a third of them had died. This caused the other pirates to feel fear in their hearts. Even the two venerable 9 stars were frightened. Facing Yixing's spear technique, they felt a chill in their hearts. Azure Dragon soaring style. Seeing that Yixing's and Wei Qingxuan's strength was actually so terrifying, the Azure Dragon Island's lord was enraged. He directly attacked, charging at Yixing. An Azure Dragon astral light, several hundred meters long, charged over with extremely horrifying might. Everywhere it passed, the ice shattered, and the spear images were destroyed. After-image footwork. The strength of the Azure Dragon Island's lord was indeed extraordinary. Yixing dodged the Azure Dragon astral light and moved his body, dodging the attack of the Azure Dragon astral light. Wei Qingxian created an ice lotus with every step she took. She was also very fast, and the Azure Dragon astral light missed. Kill! The Azure Dragon Island's lord roared ferociously and formed hand seals. After the Azure Dragon astral light missed, he instantly turned around and charged at Yixing, ice sealing style. Wei Qingxian shouted. The ice on her icicle sword surged as she executed her ultimate move. The terrifying chill multiplied. Even the air was covered with a layer of frost. Countless icicles emerged from the ice on the surface of the sea. Many pirates were killed by the icicles. The icicle sword chi collided with the Azure Dragon astral light. Although the icicle sword chi was shattered, it also greatly reduced the speed of the Azure Dragon astral light. Shadowless kill. Yixing and Wei Qingxuan's teamwork was extremely tacit and seamless. They immediately displayed the ultimate move of the Wind Shadow Spear art. The Dragon Blood Spear thrust forward. It was no longer a series of thrusts in an instant. Instead, it was a single thrust with all its strength. The spear was so fast that it did not even leave behind a shadow. Puff! Blood splattered. When the spear image appeared again, the tip of the spear had already pierced the throat of the Azure Dragon Island's lord. At this moment, the Azure Dragon astral light was still several dozen meters away from Yixing due to the obstruction of the icicle sword chi. The Azure Dragon astral light instantly scattered. The Azure Dragon Island's lord revealed an expression of disbelief. This is impossible. Chapter 547. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, half a month had passed since Yixing returned to the Bloodblade Academy. Yixing's heart force had reached the 6th level, and his cultivation speed was twice as fast as when he was at the 5th level. In half a month's time, his sky-burning sun fist and black flame arrow art had both reached perfection. His attainment was not inferior to the wind shadow spear art. For other exalted realm cultivators, even half-step honorable realm cultivators, this cultivation speed could be considered godly. However, Yixing's heart force and comprehension of the heaven and earth's momentum were deeper than the average honorable realm cultivator. Of course, it was easy for him to cultivate a supreme-grade spiritual martial art. It was only a little difficult for him to break through to the transcendent realm. Breaking through to the transcendent realm requires an opportunity. It's hard to reach this step by cultivating diligently. It seems that I have to temper myself in battle. Moreover, my cultivation is still too low. Only a 7th-level astral realm cultivator can cultivate a supreme-grade spiritual martial art to the transcendent realm. The lower the cultivation, the greater the restriction on martial arts. It seems that I have to raise my cultivation even higher. Yixing thought to himself. There were less than 2 months until the 3rd genius selection. If he could break through to the 8-star realm, then his chances of winning would be greater. If he wanted to break through to the 8-star realm, the cultivation tower was the best place to go. With Yixing's strength, he should be able to reach the highest level of the cultivation tower. Every level of the cultivation tower increased the concentration of astral chi by 20%. The higher the level, the higher the concentration of astral chi, and the faster the cultivation speed. On this day, Yixing arrived at the 9th level of the cultivation tower. There were 2 cultivation rooms here. There was a student token hanging at the entrance of each room. The one on the left had Zixien written on it, and the one on the right had MOE written on it. This meant that the 2 cultivation rooms were already occupied. To encourage competition between students, the cultivation tower's rule was that whoever was stronger could occupy the better cultivation room and challenge others at will. Of course, the prerequisite was that one had enough merit points. Different levels meant different cultivation speeds, and the number of merit points required was also different. The first level required 5 merit points a day, and each level required 5 more merit points. Cultivating on the 9th level for a day required 45 merit points. Yixing looked at the 2 student tokens. Of course, he wouldn't disturb Wei Qingxian. He walked towards the cultivation room on the right. MOE, a venerable 9-star, was the number 1 student of the Blood Edge Empire Academy. His strength was at the peak of the venerable 9-star level. Yixing arrived outside MOE's cultivation room and knocked on the door. Who? An angry roar suddenly came from the room. Who dares to disturb my cultivation? As the number 1 student and a core member of the Imperial family, MOE was an absolute tyrant in the Blood Edge Academy. Everyone knew that MOE had been cultivating in seclusion recently. He wanted to reach the half-step honorable realm as soon as possible so that he could graduate from the academy and search for an opportunity to break through to the honorable realm. MOE coldly snorted. Someone actually dared to disturb his cultivation at this time. This person must have eaten a leopard's guts. Yixing stood outside the door and said, "Senior brother MOE, Junior Yixing is here to challenge you." A terrifying aura came from the cultivation room. MOE shouted, "You dare to challenge me? How dare you? Do you want to die?" Yixing slightly frowned and said, "You talk too much nonsense. If you dare to accept the challenge, then come out." If not, then scram. Yixing's principle was to be polite to the opponent first. If the opponent was polite to him, then he would continue to be polite. If the opponent wasn't polite, then sorry, he wouldn't be polite either. Creak. The cultivation room's door opened, and the terrifying aura suddenly became stronger. A tall young man walked out. Moe glanced at Yixing and said, "Yixing, right? I've heard of your name. You have guts. However, don't think that you can be arrogant in front of me just because you defeated Mo Tong. You're not qualified." Yixing smiled and said, "Whether I'm qualified or not depends on my strength, not how good my mouth is." Moe angrily snorted and said, "Fine, I'll see how much strength you've grown in this year." As he spoke, Moe punched out at Yixing whoosh. As soon as the fist moved, a fierce fist wind shot out with a terrifying aura. The void trembled as Moe's fist force stirred up waves of air. As for Moe's fist, it bloomed with light and exploded the air. In an instant, it arrived in front of Yixing with a terrifying flame. Yixing's heart skipped a beat. The martial art that Moe used was the supreme-grade spiritual martial art that he had recently cultivated, the Sky-Burning Sun Fist. However, Moe's attainment in the Sky-Burning Sun Fist was far inferior to Yixing's. It was only at the greater success stage. Flaming Dipper Fist. In a hurry, Yixing swung his fist and used the transformative stage upper-grade spiritual martial art, the Flaming Dipper Fist. The transformative stage attainment was superb. No matter how short the time was, it was still natural for him to use it. It was not weak at all. Bang! The two fists collided and made a loud explosion. The two fists exploded and sparks flew everywhere.